Muito bom dia. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to one more day of the MEO Hickel Portugal Pro. International MEO Hickel Portugal Pro. And here's the call, the 6:50 call. We are on. Starting at the 7:02 with the ladies a round of 16. Overlapping hits running at 40 minutes. So again, we are on for a 7:02 start. That's in just over 10 minutes. We're going to start with the ladies round of 16. Overlapping hits, running hits at 40 minutes. Men's round of 32, the remaining hits, and ladies for final. They're on standby still for you. Muito bom dia, uma vez mais. Vamos começar o evento dentro de aproximadamente 10 minutos com a competição feminina, round 16. Vamos continuar com o sistema de overlapping hits, e temos duração de 40 minutos. Para hoje também programados, há a possibilidade de se realizar também as restantes competições the horn and the timer, that will be a test. Again, that will be a test. That was a test. That was a test. New test. Just under 4 minutes to start. Just under 4 minutes to start. Remaining free surface lined up, please do give me now. Thank you. After 3 minutes to start, no more surfing is allowed. Hold on to your position. Start. Ladies in the heat, no more surfing is allowed. Hold on to your position.
And a very good morning from Peniche, Portugal. The world's best surfers are back in town. It's stop 3 on the championship tour, the MEO Ripco Portugal Pro, presented by Corona. And already a couple of solid days of competition under our belt. We're excited for more of it. Joining myself, Paul Evans, in the studio to talk you through it this morning. Peter Mel, bon dia.
Bon dia. Good morning, everyone. Today is a day that we are kind of getting ourselves back and warmed up. I mean, it's a Monday morning. The work week is getting started. We are here early once again, and with that, it looks like we may get competition underway again. We've got some slight onshore breeze, but lots of shoulders, lots of opportunity out there. So we may get the women. I mean, you're looking right here, we see a jersey on. So you'd think that we're going to have a call on.
A little bit of buzz around the area this morning, but just looking at the waiting period and the time that we've got left and we've still got quite a bit to run here, Pete. We've got some heats to pull.
We do. And, you know, Renato has been making the calls. We had the first 3 days where we were off, you know, and so now we got to keep going. Get that train rolling.
Let's find out if we're going to do that. Let's get the official call from Renato.
That's right. So, Renato, we feel the breeze, but we have a lot of free surf happening behind us. Walk us through the call for today.
It is on. So we're going to start with the women round of 16. We want to give the best possible tide for the women. Low tide today around 12 o'clock. So we call this round on, put quarterfinals on standby. Those 2 men of round of 32 that are left over from yesterday hit 15 and 16, and also the round of 16 today. So we're going to address tides, we're going to address winds, swell conditions. This swell's supposed to build throughout the day. And we're overlapping at 40-minute hits. Most likely we'll do overlapping for those 2 hits of the men if we run today too. Lots happening. Tomorrow again, huge surf, huge forecast, and aiming to finish the event Wednesday, next Wednesday if we can. So lots of action coming up.
Lots of action, and you heard the horn behind me, which means we are underway. So we'll send it back to the booth.
Thanks so much, AJ. Renato's got quite a few decisions to make here, Pete, with tide and wind and swell and a bunch of stuff happening. It's a situation that's in flux.
And in flux, and he called everybody on for the day. If you think about it, he has everybody on standby. You know, the round of 16, so anybody who's thinking they got a day off, no. You got to keep yourself focused. We could be running your heat today.
All right, let's go into our first heat of the morning, which will see the yellow jersey of Molly Picklum getting that big win over on the North Shore earlier this season. Coming in here, joint wearer of the yellow jersey, along with Carissa, taking on Isabella Nichols, who got that breakthrough win last year, Pete. Margaret River on the championship tour. Bella Nichols getting a massive, massive win. Coming in here with confidence. She loves Portugal. She won the World Junior title down in Ericeira back in 2016. So Portugal placed with good memories for Bella.
And she's up against the yellow jersey. And Molly, you know, first time for her wearing this jersey. You would think that, you know, with her upbringing, that she would be wearing this jersey very often. And I think it came pretty early for her, you know, considering that we're in just year 2 for, you know, for Molly. And, you know, second event of the season, and she's wearing yellow. So it's pretty cool to see. And she's got the braids on, so she's definitely not have to worry about her hair today. It's going to be tight to the skull.
Ripco coming on board to help us celebrate International Women's Day this year. Ash Barty, the choice for Molly Picklum, the tennis player. We've got some really fun picks throughout our men's and women's stores. Really interesting to find out which athletes are inspiring our surfers. Some from the world of surfing, some from further afield. It's a really nice mix.
Plenty of surf still today, Paul. You know, it's dropping swell from yesterday. We've got this onshore breeze, just kind of out of that southwest. It's forecast to go more westerly direction. And if we get it to go real west, it could actually help the lineup slightly. And I think that's why we have Renato kind of keeping today on tap for a full day of surfing. There's going to be lots of opportunity, still plenty of swell. Tomorrow, he mentioned how it's supposed to be big. And it is. It's supposed to increase again. And with that, generally, we will probably lose some of the day because of the low tide. And so that's why I feel like he's getting it plugged away, because Thursday, which is the last day of our waiting period, it looks kind of tough there, too. You know, onshore breeze and not a lot of swell.
A swing from Bella Nichols. And a little deep on that one. It got steep on her. She went down, which will leave the yellow jersey of Molly Picklum to have a little look. And while we're thinking about forecast, well, let's get into our Surfline forecast and see exactly what's coming up over the next couple of days.
Yeah, of course, Surfline, our official forecast of the World Surf League, and we have lots of swell on tap. Like it's mentioned, we are seeing today lots of red. Look at the Atlantic. It's just filled with swell, so that's good for Super Tubos. As you can see, we're there at the bottom right of the corner. There's that little yellow moment where we see it kind of decrease. That's today. Going into tomorrow, we get another pulse, pretty good sizable pulse, which means we'll have to keep our tabs. But with that, we get good winds. Here's today's morning and afternoon. We'll see this slight increase in swell height, but that onshore breeze is supposed to increase. It will clock around to more of the westerly direction, which is going to be hopefully helpful. Still onshore though, you know, and you really want to see that more of the east, northeast types of winds. Next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's the rest of our waiting period. You can see tomorrow, 8 to 10 foot, decreasing through the afternoon. Next day, 5 to 8 foot. I feel like Wednesday is kind of what we're offshore because the offshore winds, right? And then Thursday, we see a decrease in swell and onshore breeze. So we want to finish on a high with that Wednesday. That's why we're running some heats today, and I like the call.
So plenty of swell in the water. Couple of days with some wind to deal with as well. All part of getting this forecast together, of course. You can scan the QR code for 30% off Surfline Premium. We got a damaged board here, Pete.
And still, even with this wave being a lot smaller, still lots of power. Broken board there, and it happens very easily.
Meanwhile, outside, live action, Molly Picklum hits it with some spark off the top. A little bit of a fatter face for her. She'll redirect, just try and stay in the pocket. This wave will crease a bit, but the better of what happened early on, certainly going by way of Molly, who's still in the lineup. She'll get priority soon. She'll get a number 2. Let's get a look.
Nice first hit up into the lip. That's going to be a pretty good scoring maneuver for today, getting into the lip, you know, because we still have a pretty full tide this morning. You know, as we move through the week, right, we get that lower tide moving about an hour, hour and a half each day, moving towards the afternoon. We got a pretty full tide this morning, and you can see that like what we saw last night. There's a lot of bump with that higher tide. The beach is pretty steep, so you're getting a little backwash.
All right, so already some equipment damage early on in this opening heat of the day. AJ, you got a broken board down there.
I do have a broken board down here. Isabella Nichols breaking her 5'11" DHD DNA, but talking with her coach and manager, Kurt, he told me she took the same exact board out there. So Bella getting used to a new board, but same equipment, same specs, everything like that. But we saw a lot of action like this yesterday. Getting it early started today.
Right, great stuff. Thanks, AJ. So, yeah, much smaller today, Pete, but the power's never in doubt out here.
She didn't have to wrestle that one away from anybody, did she? I mean, we saw yesterday John's board becoming a very hot item, you know, and they become great souvenirs, you know, and keep that one, AJ. Get it signed up.
Interesting point you were making about the power as well here. Maybe from doing this event down the years, we're used to the swells coming a little bit more out the north, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, we get a bit of both, but most of the swells from those storms way up in the high latitudes. This year, it's all west. It's coming straight in here, Pete, kind of unrestrained.
Yeah, and it's odd because you're getting these storms moving very low in the Atlantic, and which that means it's going to come across at an angle that we don't see very often. Usually you're going to get it kind of coming from the North Atlantic, dropping down onto us, and a lot of these storms are coming off the East Coast and Nova Scotia area, very low, and then they're gaining steam across the Atlantic in the westerly direction, which focuses directly in here. You know, this is facing pretty much southwest. You know, this big corner of the peninsula, as you can see, it wraps around there. And that's why it just is a magnet. Plus, you get the Nazareth Canyon. There's a finger that kind of feeds off of that helps that west swell, kind of feeds it directly into Supertubos.
Teresa bonvalot getting ready for her encounter. That's coming up soon. Representing Portugal, one of 2 Portuguese surfers in the draw in women's competition. Surfed well through the opening days, Teresa, and now with status, with some experience under her belt, surfing in the CT as a wild card, as a young teenager.
Uh-oh. Hold on, hold on. Oh, my gosh.
Oh. Wow, so Molly Picklum there, just going off the ski, and we've been talking about this, and it's not an easy job navigating the skis out there.
No, it isn't. And, you know, sometimes you're trying to push to get out there. Today, you would think that there's be limited use of skis because it's much smaller, but when you have them on the inside, it's always nice to use them.
So we come here this morning early on, we got a call to go with the women. First thing we notice when we get a look, all right, it's a lot smaller than yesterday, and you're thinking, okay, you know, maybe a bit less drama, a bit less incident. Broken board in the first 30 seconds of the heat. Someone spilled off a ski, the yellow jersey of Molly Picklum spilled off ski already, and still 32 minutes remaining in this heat.
That's why we love this place, right? It's action-packed, it's dramatic, it's high impact, and, you know, and you think about with tides and the swells and, you know, getting heats done, it is constantly, you got to stay on your toes.
The Woz is in the Red Bull Athlete Zone. Strider, come in.
Yeah, beautiful morning down here. A lot of energy. You know, I just wanted to touch on the morning and how these things kind of come as we got a paddle. Let's get back to this live action. Nope. Molly getting her game back together. Anyway, down here in the Red Bull Athlete area, you know, everybody really kind of coming down here early in the morning. All the men, all the women. You know, Ryan Callahan sitting over here. He's just had a surf this morning. You get Griffin Colapinto out there real early. Everybody getting out in the water and getting their feet, because they don't know what the call is, because the men or the women could get called on. So everybody kind of converging on this area and getting ready early in the morning. And then as the call comes out, then they kind of fragment and go back into their compartments, and they all kind of go home or stay here. And you know, it's just an interesting thing where everybody gets that froth and that vibe real early in the dark down here. You see them in the back of the trucks and all their camps getting ready, and then they all kind of have to plan the day around what, you know, Renato would say as that text comes through on the surfers thread. So everybody anticipating big days here. They've called them both probably on today, so everybody's going to have to kind of figure out the way their day is going to go. Right now, all the ladies are kind of taking over the area and getting their feet in this area, making sure that they got their real estate, so to speak, ready to go.
All right, great stuff. Thanks, Strider. Early morning here in Portugal. We're on with women's competition and a great clash coming up. One we've seen many times before on the Championship Tour. Sally Fitzgibbons, incredible surfer down the years, taking on Stephanie Gilmore, the 8-time world champ, and it looks like
Broken leash.
Broken leash, wow.
Oh, Bella has been just getting dealt with here. Still lots of time, though. 30 minutes, 10 minutes have gone by. Molly hasn't really utilized any, the advantages she's been given by broken boards, and Isabella having to be at the beach twice now in the first 10 minutes of her heat.
So Bella Nichols having to change the leash, or the leg rope, as they call it in Australia. Kurt Jacobs there with a couple of words for her. She's already broken a DHD this morning. Now she's broken a leash as well. There is still power out in the ocean. Let's get a look here, Pete.
Oh, she got caught, and that's what happens here too as well. These swells come and just pop up out of nowhere. She had to bail out on that one, and sure enough, tink, the power is still alive and well, even if it's only half the size of yesterday.
So back on the ski now with her backup leash. And looking to get some points on the board, just under half hour remaining in its opening 40-minute heat with that overlapping format. Not loads of numbers to bring you thus far. Just a 3 dropped in for Molly. A quick slash in the pocket from her. Other than that, Bella Nichols as yet.
Just goes to show how important having all of your equipment right there on hand. What if she didn't have that extra leash? She's already gotten the second board in. You have to have full-on at least 3 boards ready to go. Fins in, leashes on, ready to go. I mean, that would be the bare minimum. And ultimately, a 4th board has to be available on site, so at least your caddy can help go in and at least get it ready.
In terms of equipment choices, Pete, yesterday everyone running step-ups, pintails, maybe back to regular shortboards today?
I would say that, yeah. I mean, or just an inch. There's still plenty of power. So a board, even a normal shortboard here, is still going to be one built for power. It's not going to be, anything that's going to be a little bit wider. Anything. It's going to be a normal shortboard that can handle the juice, but still give you the mobility in the paddle.
From our aerial shot, you can see that rip that runs through the lineup and just disturbs that water surface, and staying in position quite often involves paddling in towards the beach, making sure you can get yourself onto a set wave. Molly having a good look at that one, just unable to get in. You see that wave, Pete, it's reluctant to break, and then all of a sudden the bottom just drops out and it's shelving on real shallow sandbars.
Well, and you've got the rip that pulls out, and that's what they're sitting in. You can see the brown water and the froth still there as you look into the team. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Kurt's getting ready, getting the other 4th board on tap, because you just never know if you're going to break another board, have to have leashes and all the fins in. So Kurt there, that's why the importance of having a team here.
There's something you don't want to be doing in a hurry, putting the little stringy through, the little leash stringy when you don't have a fin key to help poke it through. Any tips for that one, Pete?
Keep a fin key around, or go find a little stick on
the beach. A little stick on the beach.
You get panicked of it, but it's funny.
When you got the cold fingers as well in winter. Just another challenge that surfing throws at us. Teresinha getting loose and limber, getting ready. She'll be out taking on another goofy in the form of Tatiana weston-webb, the defending champion at this event. They'll have 40 minutes of their own. The opening 20 of their heat, they'll be in non-priority. They'll try and stay a little distant. Feel like our arena, our peak, maybe just a little more of an apex this morning, probably a slightly smaller area where up or down the beach they'll be sitting this morning.
Yeah, and it's just sitting off the rip, right? Like you want to have, because that's where the waves are going to focus their energy, is you get pulled into the rip, and so you want to sit just off the side of it so you can catch a left or a right and go into the cleaner water. It's really difficult to surf into a rip. You've got the water moving out at you. It just makes it a little more challenging. The waves a little bit less predictable. You want to have it, catch it, and then move it into the clean water where you can really do those big solid moves. A little more consistent wave face.
A cagey start this morning. As yet, nothing major on the board. A little bit of drama, an incident for Bella Nichols with some equipment damage, broken board, snapped the leash as well. She's been to the beach twice. Molly Picklum's been bucked off the ski, and she's been unable to really post much while her adversary's been back on the beach so far. Still plenty of time yet to come.
Just got the text on the event thread from the judging today at Super Tubos. Yesterday we saw deep technical tube riding was going to be highly rewarded. That was kind of the emphasis that the judges at. Today, different. You know, we don't necessarily see that we're going to have a whole lot of barrels on happen. Not that they won't happen, but today, points of difference the judges will be looking at today, innovative and progressive maneuvers. So ultimately, barrels and airs, right? We're going to see tail releases, opportunity for big airs. That's what we want to see from these surfers, so that's going to be highly rewarded. The combination of major moves, so if you can find a wave that's going to allow you to have, you know, that top to bottom style surfing, that's going to be highly rewarded today. Also, we are still going to give that single major maneuvers can receive high scores if you really go for it. So that's what we see on top today. Degree of difficulty of the sections that they're doing it on, also going to be looked at very intently.
So surfers looking to take on the lip here this morning, get points on the board. No major action to bring you thus far this morning. We're underway with the women's round of 16. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, more action from the MEO Rip Curl Portugal Pro. We'll be right back.
The MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal presented by Corona is brought to you by MEO, official title partner of the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, by Rip Curl, the ultimate surfing company, and by Corona. This is living.
Welcome back to the women's round of 16. Heat number 1 in the water right now. The yellow jersey of Molly Picklum taking on her fellow Aussie Isabella Nichols, who's got priority in the lineup. She's had a couple of minor dramas in the forms of equipment trouble, broken board, a snap leash. She's back in the lineup right now and in the hunt for a score. Not a lot to bring you in terms of that scoreboard. A 3 in for Molly early on. Pete, it looks like pretty tough to be in position this morning, and just as we say that, a good looking wave sets up. Molly drags it and gets into the barrel, comes out nice and clean, and that's going to kick this heat off now.
It sure is, and it just seems like just in the last 5 minutes that the cleanliness of the ocean is happening, and that's what I'm saying. When you start to see that clock around just ever so slightly more to that westerly direction, which it is forecast to do, it will help smooth out the lineup. Again, not going to be you know, offshore by any means, but right there, we saw a much cleaner looking wave right there in the rip, and it goes into that clean water. That's exactly what I'm talking about. See outside, you can see that white water. That's the rip pulling out. She was able to catch the wave in that zone and then move into the clean water. Finds herself a little pocket ride. Gonna get herself another number to add to the 3 she already has. So an early lead and early momentum with Molly. Actually, I wouldn't even say it's early. We're halfway through the heat. So momentum with Molly. Isabella dealing with all of the adversities she's had to deal with that kind of brings the stress level up slightly. Things don't feel like they're going your way. You've broken a board, you've broken a leash, but Isabella still has 21 minutes and she can turn it around pretty easily here. Just got to get on the right waves.
So positioning paying off for Molly Picklum at the apex of the bank. She paddled into a couple that she couldn't find, and that one sat up sweetly for her. Judges all throw a number at that. And while we're watching the surfing, we're being entertained. As part of the global surfing family, our thoughts are always with sustainability and looking after the planet. And a shout out to Rip Curl once again. We've been putting this event on now for, well, since 2009, and news from them. They've joined the B Corp movement. What are B Corps? Well, essentially, they're businesses that prioritize people and the planet, not just profit. And that can only be good news, Pete.
As you see, Kurt Jacobs there. A little concern on the face, slightly, right?
It's nearly half the heat gone. Bella Nichols got a .23 on the board, and he's concerned.
As he should be. Let's hope the stress levels are less low out in the lineup with Isabella.
Here's Molly again. Off the top, sluicing, and goes down the bottom of the wave. And he just felt as she did that, that thing stood up. She was never going to get to the lip in time, so I had to just duck under it. But she's been busier. She's been rewarded for the tube. 5, 6, 7 in for Molly. Just sticking to that top part of the bank. Isabella's been sitting a little wider so far this morning, unable to really find anything to get a campaign going. That's a 4th wave for Molly Picklum. And shortly, the second heat of the day is going to start a non-priority situation. At that point, Pete, if you're in the water without a score, you're maybe going to have to start thinking about maybe mixing up the strategy somewhat.
A little bit. Overlapping heat's going to happen again today for these women, which means that you'll have 2 heats in the water sharing the lineup. That was actually invented by Kelly Slater, thinking about ways to improve professional surfing and gain time, because considering that we want to have the best quality waves for everybody involved. He was sitting there thinking about it going, there's some really good waves not getting ridden. I wonder how we get, oh, hey, let's do 2 heats at one time. Brilliant, by the way, and it really does save a ton of time.
All right, it's live action. Teresa bonvalot of Portugal, wasting no time to get started in her heat against Tatiana weston-webb. Couple of slashes from her. And she'll look to try and bring this onto an inside, which she's unable to do. But turning sharply out the back and just seeing what's happened to Bella Nichols in the opening 20 minutes of their heat. Teresa's like, I'm not hanging around.
And just to elaborate further on the overlapping heats, so the heats that are in the water, there's 2 heats in the water, they have their own priority. But there is a portion of the heat that is priority fully to one specific heat. So ultimately right now, the very first heat of the day had priority the whole time. They still have priority over the other heat right now. The second heat here has to wait out for 20 minutes, and then they'll get priority over the other heat in the water. So ultimately, you're going to have the extra 10 minutes of surfing time. Usually these heats are only half-hour long, so we add an extra 10 minutes to put, and that's kind of cool because you're going to end up getting 40 minutes in your heat. So lots of time.
And just in terms of managing that priority for surfers, you think they're doing pretty well? They're used to it? It's an easy thing for them to do, to be able to switch from those formats?
I would say that it's an adjustment period there for sure, as we watch this replay here of the first wave of Teresa bonvalot. Didn't quite complete that final move, but looking loose. She looks, I mean, hey, it's hard to get fired up early morning. You got cold weather, you've got this kind of dreariness. We've had 2 huge days of competition, right? And the energy level's so high through the weekend with the crowd and everything. And I mean, I feel drained. It's like, it's hard to get pumped back up on a Monday morning with the conditions a little bit smaller. And like, so psychologically, you really need to kind of figure out a way to get yourself amped back up. I liked how Teresa looked there on that first wave.
Yeah, she's got those calves. That's a real part of her style. She likes to kind of space out her maneuvers a little bit with those weight shifts and then goes into those really nice wrapping forehand calves. Just thinking about conditions, I think back to last year, our defending champ Tatiana weston-webb. This isn't wildly dissimilar to the sort of ways we saw her just taking everyone on and hitting the lip, taking risks, and the judges rewarding it. This is how she built that victory in these kind of conditions. Meanwhile, yellow jersey, it's Molly Picklum, and she's shown us a little bit of everything this morning, the widely rounded repertoire, taking on a lip there again. That's her 5th wave for Molly.
And she would have gotten that text and understand that innovative and progressive, and she is probably at the very top of that innovative and progressive type of maneuvers. She wants to punt air. She knows that that's where there's a huge opportunity to pick up big numbers. Just unfortunately that she wasn't able to pull off that move. She's trying to improve on a low score of a 3.0. Pretty substantial lead. I mean, Isabella Nichols now still searching for it. She only has 1 score of a 0.23, so it's been tough for her to find a position to get the waves that she needs to catch up to Molly.
Yeah, whatever she's been doing, it's not working so far. She'll need to make an adjustment here and make it pretty soon, because Molly Picklum will just keep chipping away, and she's going to get better and better and improve her numbers. Here goes Bella having a paddle, and you can see she's annoyed. She's out of position here, Pete. She's not finding the energy.
That's the second time I've seen the little hand splash there, so definitely frustrated. And that's where that broken board and that broken leash, you feel like there's just a magnet, an anti-magnet, it's just polarity wrong, just pushing waves away from you, and it's just frustrating. But she's got to stay in the game here. 16 minutes to go. She can get 2 waves, only an 8.67 2-wave total that she's chasing. That's a pair of 4s or a pair of 5s, let's say. And wow,
This time last year, the crowd was chanting Tatiana Weston-Webb's name as she went to take this event out as the champion. Let's find out who's inspiring her for International Women's Day.
For International Women's Day this year, I chose to represent Bia Haddad Maia. She is a tennis player that is Brazilian, and honestly, her year last year was super inspiring. She supports me through Instagram, and I support her through Instagram. I think it's really cool to have that camaraderie in between sports and know that you have like another sports person supporting you from a distance and vice versa. So yeah, that's why I chose her, because she's honestly on a tear right now, and I really believe that she can be top 5 if she wants to. So yeah, I'm rooting for her.
Tatiana Weston-Webb, your defending champ. We saw a quick ride from her, an unsuccessful one really. It's tricky out there this morning. I feel like getting a read on it is going to be obviously crucial within these 40 minutes. What happened here, Pete?
Well, just a bump on the face. Gets, you know, and that's what's one of the things I feel like sometimes it takes a little bit to kickstart, especially after 2 huge days where you're on the beach feeling everything. You know, we're sitting here, we're talking, you know, for the most part, we're not physically, but I'm drained myself. So I feel like even just sitting on the beach and dealing with the waves and the stresses and all, you know, when's my heat, that all plays into fatigue. So it's just a little bit harder to get started.
Picklum hits it really hard. A critical section goes vertical on the backhand. And again, just relentless from Molly. And she'll tag it. Great surfing from her. And she has looked good value so far this morning in challenging conditions. Still swinging on an inside. She'll crack it again right on the sand. Molly Picklum putting on a bit of a clinic here this morning.
Strategically, just so sound. You know, she understands how to manage a heat. She was able to get herself in a good position for the 5.67, which was actually a 2, which we did not expect today. And again, she's just found herself. She's looking at lefts, looking at rights, so she's got the open mind. Yeah, pretty tough to compete against someone who is just so clinically sound. Watching again here on the backhand, hooking it nicely. Nose went underwater and she was able to muscle it through. Again, just nice flow, very quick in transitions, up and over the lip easily there. She's gonna throw that 3.0 right into the trash can and get herself another number here and apply even more pressure to Isabella Nichols.
Yeah, smart tactics from Molly this morning. Just looking at kind of conditions on offer, what the waves are like. You think championship tour heat, sit with priority, wait for the bomb set waves, 7s or 8s. That's not what we're dealing with this morning. And it is a little bit of that scattergun approach from her, and it's paid off. She's taken rights, lefts, she's pulled in, and there with some backhand maneuvers on a steep section, rewarded from the panel. 6-5 for Molly. And she has put a solid total up now, 12-1-7 against Isabella Nichols, who's got nothing at all, and she's got just under 13 minutes. Hey, let's have a look at an 8-time world champion. She's heading out into the water to renew hostilities with Sally Fitzgibbons. These two have had some epic clashes down the years.
I mean, you know, majority of their careers, they've been surfing against each other, so a lot of experience surfing against these two. You'd have to say that Steph would have the advantage over Sally Fitzgibbons in their career, but that doesn't mean anything. It's a new heat, new day. But that I was just going to say, that score for Molly right there is a definite stressor for Isabella Nichols. She was definitely within it, you know, with that 8.67 total. Here we go, Bella.
Bella Nichols, this is what she needed. Got a wave setting up in front of her, nice and vertical on the snap, into the lip.
I love that. She was at ski right away now. She knows she's down towards the end of the heat, 12 minutes to go. This is going to help. Obviously, psychologically more than anything, just one single maneuver, but it was nice and vertical, and it was done in a very critical section. Not going to be a gigantic number, but it's definitely going to help her out. She's in a combo now, which means she needs 2 waves, totaling 12.17. She gets around this section and straight up into it, tags it nicely, nice timing, pulls it off, and she is instantly knows that time is an issue, calling for the ski right out of the gates. And then we also got to see another wave here of Molly, and she just keeps picking up wave after wave. She's just put herself in the right place in the lineup. She has gotten a ton of opportunities, and she may even improve on the 5.67 there, as we saw a nice solid right with 3 solid moves.
Just relentless from Molly Picklum in the yellow jersey. Great rhythm to her surfing. I feel like she's adjusting her maneuvers as well while she's doing them, just to make sure she comes out of that lip, that troublesome lip, unscathed. and she has been looking really, really good here this morning. It's going to be a tall order now for Isabella Nichols when her number comes in. It will be a first legit score for Bella. And she's going to be chasing something big. All right, she gets a 3.07. It's a throwaway for Molly over 4. That requirement 9.1 for Bella Nichols. 10.5 minutes remaining for her to go about finding that. She just needs to start catching waves, really. It's easy to say it from here, but that's the game. She needs to start surfing.
Well, I mean, and she's had, you know, close to 30 minutes to catch waves, and it's been very difficult for her.
Teresa bonvalot, double pump bottom turn on the backhand, slash in the pocket. The wave gets steep here, really nice. She knifes that turn through the lip and goes vertical. And real good board control from Teresa.
I don't know if you saw the very beginning of that paddle, but there was a closeness between the two surfers there of Tatiana and Teresa. We'll get a replay momentarily of this wave, and we'll just see in the very beginning there, because Tatiana was inside and underneath. See the paddle here? Look, she's kind of looking at it, and then watch, like Teresa almost goes at her. And in that moment there, you know, if Tatiana gets in the way, conceivably could be an interference. So Tatiana's going to be very careful there. Beautiful vertical hit off the top there for Teresa, and pulls it off nice and clean.
Teresa bonvalot always well supported here in Portugal. Here's Tatiana weston-webb, who belts it off the top with the speed. She'll get another snap in as this wave closes out, and she'll just milk once again in the whitewash. So Tatiana looking to fire up here. The champion of this event does not want to go out in the round of 16. She's taken on a surfer with tons of experience at this wave. And that goofy foot clash, calling for the ski now. She'll get a number come in. We've got a number to come for Teresa too. Here's this wave, Pete.
Yeah, nice answer to Teresa's wave here. This wave had a lot of energy. You see how extra juice in it. She was carrying a ton of speed through these maneuvers. And judges will see that. They'll notice that intensity of the wave. That makes those sections a little more critical. So I feel like this is a good wave here. Tatiana's first two waves are throwaway scores, so that's really helpful, especially when we saw Teresa just put up a pretty good number.
AJ's got some insights on Teresa bonvalot.
Keep in mind, Teresa bonvalot is dealing with 6 stitches in her head that she picked up a few days ago now, surfing at Baleal just across the way here from Supertubos. So she decided not to wear the hood again this morning. In her last round, she was going back and forth on whether or not it would be helpful with those recent stitches to her head. But today, deciding against the hood, and clearly she's in her element, guys.
Thanks, AJ. It certainly doesn't seem to be holding her back, right? She's got stitches in the head. She's on her game from the get-go in this one.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, I don't think. I mean, I've had stitches in the head. The only thing you really want to make sure that is it doesn't get bonked again, right? So that you open it up. But you know, it's in the skull. Unless you're shaving your head, you're not really gonna ever see it. So it just kind of sits in there, no worries. It's just, again, maybe a little bit sore. You know, obviously contusions to the head can be, you know, sketchy. But you know, a couple stitches, 6 stitches, yeah, it's not that bad.
It's all part of a day's work for Teresa bonvalot. Surfing in Portugal once again. And this whole nation, massive support for their surfers. She's been carrying that for a number of years now. She feels like this stage of her career, she's really starting to step into the role and flourish. Let's see what she can do against the defending event champ. That's her in live action. weston-webb with a kick out, got a decent number for her previous wave, a 5.67. This is the better of their clash in the non-priority heat. Loads of time left to go in that one. Our other heat, our first heat of the day, just 7 minutes remaining. Picklum looking real good with those numbers, Pete. That's a decent return for these kind of conditions.
It sure is. You know, 12 points. We saw it all day yesterday. You know, even with the conditions that we had yesterday, you get double digits. And ultimately, you're going to see yourself probably advancing on right now, Molly, with that 12.17 two-wave total. It's, you know, pair of sixes is a solid number, especially in this round of 16.
You touched upon it first thing about getting the yellow jersey pretty young, right? 20 years old. Just from what we've seen so far, she doesn't seem to be feeling too much pressure. She looks very relaxed, like a natural in yellow.
It's true. I mean, and I think that's just because she is so confident. I mean, she demands the fact that she's going to win a world title, and she wants probably to be one of the youngest to do it. So she is fired up this year and looks solid.
Touchy live action from her. That wave just folds down the line, and she'll go the pin drop. Looking to try and punch through underwater, avoid any dramas.
You can see the focus here for Tatiana. She's on that part of the bank that's allowing for those lefts. Right now, with the way the tide is, we're seeing it drop out pretty quickly. I mean, we've already seen a change in the lineup. The wave's a lot steeper, less bounce and backwash that we saw from earlier. So she liked that portion of the beach where she got that 5.67. The lefts that run off of it.
That's a fifth wave for Tatiana, and compare that with Isabella Nichols, who's been out there 20 minutes longer. She's only paddled into 2 waves. She didn't get to her feet in one of them, broke a board. She's broken a leash as well. She's just got a 3-point ride for that one turn on the forehands. She needs way more where that came from, and she struggled to find waves here this morning, Pete. The first heat of the day, as we've said, a big change from what we saw yesterday. It can be easy to get a difficult read on the ocean. I feel like she struggled with the lineup here this morning.
Well, I mean, look where she is. I mean, and it seems like she's been down to that south end the entire heat. So she sees something down there that she really wants, but ultimately it's not as consistent as it is up in this northern end of the beach where you see Molly in the yellow jersey. They're surfing totally separate pieces of the beach. And obviously Molly's region, which has got that rip in it, has been the place that's most consistent, whereas Isabella hasn't just had any opportunities down there at the bottom end of the beach.
Generally speaking, you're surfing heats against someone who's getting scores and getting numbers. After a certain amount of time, that question's got to come into your mind. Well, why don't I just go up there and just take it in turns with priority?
Yeah, unless you're sticking to your guns and you feel like there's something there. We'll see. I mean, at the end of it here in 4.5 minutes, but at the time right now, feels like that portion of the beach is just not as consistent as maybe what she saw earlier.
4.5 on the clock for Bella Nichols. 9-1 the requirement for her in the heat against the yellow jersey of Molly Picklum, who's looked confident and in fine fettle this morning, getting tubed, hitting the lip hard, and mostly finding waves with opportunities. That's what Molly's been able to do so far. Let's have a look at a wave standing up here, see what it offers. Bella, she needs to get something going. She needs to go excellent. In the meantime, let's check out the heat recap.
Nice little barrel there, and this was, I mean, this came out of nowhere. This did, we didn't see any opportunity like that, and sure enough, Molly was able to find it, and she's been going open mind with lefts and rights. This is her best number at a 6.5. She was able to get a 5.67 for that little barrel. So again, dominating performance so far from Molly Picklum. Just the one wave from Isabella Nichols of a 3.07. Nice vertical lipper. But ultimately right there, the yellow jersey of Molly Picklum has been dominant in this first heat. This is the one wave here that finally came for Isabella Nichols in that back half of the heat. Just that one vertical hit, gets 3.07, needs a 9.10 on one wave to turn the heat. With 3 minutes to go, that's what she's relying on, is one massive wave here.
Time ticking away for Isabella Nichols. We've got a number just dropped in. You see on your screen, she gets another 3. And here's Tatiana weston-webb from deep, attacking the lip. We love to see that. Just taking risks, throwing it up there, Pete. And that wave, there was some power there, bit of backwash going down too.
That
but
was
she's
dramatic.
aggressive. That's what she'll do.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you think about this. Look at it. I don't know if she timed it, knowing that was going to happen. She just saw opportunity, but right there, you see the backwash lifts the wave and actually lifts her out into the flats. Not able to pull it off. Teresa bonvalot, she gets a nice gouging snap there. So both these surfers, look at these lefts. One single move, and then now we saw Bella. This was her last wave. Again, looking for a 9.10, and unfortunately just gets the one move and a 3.43 for her efforts.
Yeah, good effort that. That was a tricky wave to surf. Does well to get that turn done and get out of trouble, but she would have loved a couple of sections. She's looking for an excellent number. Under 2 minutes to find it. 8.74 the requirement. It's going to be tough for her. She's already won an event on the championship tour. She's got the skills. Let's go and hear from Strider in the Red Bull Athlete Zone.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Look, just down here, just go over my shoulder, watching and listening in on Renato, Hickel, and Griffin Colapinto and the whole crew actually breaking into the conversation about what they're going to do later today. So as you can see, everybody back there conversing over the conditions, what the swells we have on hand coming down the line, whether they want to have heats later this afternoon with kind of a lower tide but rising swell, and that wind kind of actually helping for the high performance maneuvers against all of that. And it's just so many different little things playing into the decisions being made for heats out here at Super Tubos. You know, they're talking about tomorrow and the swell that's rising and bigger, but it's in a different direction, maybe offshore winds. It's just, so they're all really getting into the intricacies of making the call, and it's all going down here in the Red Bull Athlete area right now. So a lot going on in the water and in the area.
Thanks, Strider. Big decisions to be made by Renato. And a big number required by Isabella Nichols. 8.74 still the requirement, 40 on the clock. Guess what? The yellow jersey, Molly Picklum, has got priority as well. And now we'll see a bit of proximity. The first time in this heat as Molly stays real close to Bella Nichols. She's covering her here and decides not to go that way. That allows an opportunity for Isabella Nichols. Nice wrap and turn, carving off the rail hard. And this one will slope away. She needed a section like that just to run down the beach with speed to go into the excellent range, and that's not what's happened here. And Isabella Nichols been a bit unlucky in terms of a broken board, but she's been a bit out of sorts as well and didn't really make the mid-heat adjustment. Meanwhile, live action, Tati on the backhand, whipping, and she likes it. Brings that all the way through to an inside. She's been super busy in her heat. That's a 7th wave for Tatiana weston-webb. But how about the performance of Molly Picklum, the yellow jersey, through out of the round of 16 with a solid performance this morning. More live action from Portugal real soon.
There is one board that is all made from sustainable materials, and then there's one that is just regular built. I mean, they're all painted the same. They all look exactly the same. They have the same weight. You know, there's a big stigma of everything that's sustainable takes performance away.
It's just easier to get the rail in the water, so, yep, green.
Preferences, boards are quite identical. Again, really hard to pick.
Well, then I'm wrong again.
Yeah, I like this board. I think this one is the best out of the quiver. There's only one future, right? Future sustainability is making sustainable surfboards.
The Eco boards won today.
So I would say the pink one is the Eco board.
In the morning I said the best ones, I thought they were PUs, so I'm gonna go, the best one is an Eco and the second one is a PU.
I got it right? Yeah.
Welcome back to Portugal, where the world's best are in town, looking for championship tour points. And the best ever to do it from the women is in the water right now. Stephanie Gilmore, 8-time world champion. The drama of the season finale last year at Trestles, fresh in our minds. As Stephanie Gilmore back in Portugal, a place where last year Pete, struggling a little bit. She was coming into this event. She kind of kickstarted her season here.
Yeah, and you look at the ranking right there. Both these surfers sitting just outside the cut line here. So ultimately, this is a very important heat for both of these surfers to get into the quarterfinals. And if you want to make the cut, quarters is where you need to be.
So 40 minutes for Steph and Sal. They won't have priority for the opening 20. This is the priority heat, and this is Tatiana Weston-Webb belting it.
Yep, came in as a 5.4. This is the way that we saw before we went to the break, that she fist pumped it, and that's it. Just an aggressive backhand attack. She is so good on the backhand. She knows that that was a good wave to add, and she takes the lead. Teresa on the wave behind. Nicely done there. Good technique. Can she hang on? No. The big airdrop to the bottom goes down. That would have been a big number, I think, because that was a pretty aggressive maneuver.
Really taken on the lip there, Teresa. You have to think she was on her way to a huge number if she would have stuck that. What I like about this matchup, the two goofies, is I really feel like Teresa's kind of matching the approach from Tati. She's taking risks, she's being aggressive.
Yeah, and I like, I mean, with Teresa, you know, her experience on the Challenger Series and getting herself, you know, kind of a heartbreak finish, where she finished tied at the end of the season, didn't get the nod for a permanent spot on the tour, but she's had the opportunity now, and she's really grown, I think, from all of that, and it's helped her surfing, and I think mentally she is very strong now.
Sally Fitzgibbons, speaking of strength, and she uses that strength to surf that wave, just stay really in the juicy part of the wave, in the pocket, the lip line, and then attacking it back up in the lip. Nice combo of turns to kick off that heat against the 8-time world champ Steph Gilmore. A clash for the ages, really, that one that we've seen and enjoyed down the years. And in this, here's Sally taking it on, Pete.
Big float, and of course the backwash always playing a bit of an element there. It just lifts the lip when you're on there, and it allows you to kind of hop off of that. That was kind of nice and dramatic there for Sally Fitzgibbons, so a good start for her.
Challenging out there this morning, someone that rose to the challenge, Molly Picklum in the yellow jersey. She's with AJ.
Yes, she did rise to the challenge, and I was just asking her about her falling off the ski, which we all saw how challenging the conditions were for her and Isabella Nichols. I'm going to let you tell the story, Molly, of what happened.
Yeah, firstly it was crazy out there, and we were obviously like cowboy riding these jet skis out the back, and then the guy, I was just telling him, I was like, Vi, go, 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 to like keep going, because I felt myself falling off, and I just wanted to be a bit further out because then I can paddle. But I was just like, any bit further out I can get, then I'm stoked. So I was telling him to go while I was falling off, and then he was laughing, and it was pretty funny. So,
I mean, I'm glad you planned the fall, at least. You also planned, you planned a few really good waves in that as well. What did you find out there that you were able to work through each wave and get the scores you were?
Yeah, it was tricky, and it was such a quick turnaround this morning. Like, we came down right on dark, and then obviously such an early start to try and get the girls in before the swell really picks up. And I was watching a little bit and just thought, you know what, it's victory at sea here. And yeah, I just was like, try and catch as many waves as I can and just roll the dice, and hopefully one of them pan out. And obviously I'm super stoked that a couple did. And yeah, I didn't ride out of a couple, which I thought I was being silly, but I kept jumping off. But yeah, honestly, it was really hard out there.
It was very hard, but you made it through to the quarters. Just talk about the momentum that you're carrying into it.
Yeah, Portugal's been pretty funny. I feel like I haven't got a bunch of momentum, but now it's starting, you know. I think the first round was a little bit sketchy. Left that behind me. The cold, I'm starting to get used to it, so it's all looking good, and I'm feeling good to, you know, put in my time out here and just keep on pushing, because I really want to make finals here.
Congratulations, you're one step closer.
Thank you. Also, hello everyone at home. I really appreciate you guys and love you all.
Back to you.
Thanks, AJ. Out the water right now, Tatiana Weston-Webb and Teresa bonvalot, the priority heat. 12:40 to go in that. It is your defending event champ, Tatiana, with the lead in that one. And on the other side, we do have Gilmore taking on Fitzgibbons. This is Steph.
On the backhand, carves it, just the one move there, and this wave dies out, so she kicks out of there. Not going to be a real big number for her. So early advantage to Sally Fitzgibbons as she picked up the 4.33. So early lead with Sally.
We talked about this matchup. Let's dive into some WSL stats and see the head-to-head between Stephanie Gilmore and Sally Fitzgibbons.
Wow, 20 times they've surfed against each other, and look at that, 14-6 Steph has over Sally. So psychological battle there before this heat even started. Definite advantage to Steph. You look at some of the point totals though, they've both brought the best out of each other. Look at that, max heat scores, 19.77 for Sally, 19.5. That's almost perfect. It's incredible stuff. And then look at their max wave score. They've both scored perfect 10s against each other. How incredible is that? That's just illustrious careers for both these women. Been so fun to watch their matchups, and it keeps continuing here right now in 2023.
That's why we've enjoyed this clash down the years so much. Let's see what they can bring us this morning in Super 2 Boss. And I feel like, Pete, you made the point early on, it's a really different day from what we saw yesterday. And it's about making that adjustment. Which of these two do you think is going to be able to make better decisions there this morning?
Oh, good question. I mean, obviously, you'd have to say the 8-time world champ has been able to do it the most. But I think that Sally is probably the most resilient, really one that can take, no worries. She'll take this difficult conditions and relish in it.
All right, quick in and out there for Teresa Bonvalot, who's chasing the number here. It's not a big one, 5.97, the requirement for her. She's certainly got that in there from what we've seen with some of the maneuvers she's been attempting. She's been close to sticking a couple of big turns, which would have gone way up the scale from our judges.
Elaborate further on that, too. Like, Sally's one that is on dark, in the water, already ran 3 miles. Like, she is that type of an athlete where she puts in and is very serious. Like, today would have been a tough day to get motivated, knowing you're like, okay, maybe they'll run, probably odds are pretty low they'll run, kind of thinking, because it's onshore, it's smaller, but sure enough, if you know and you're psychologically ready, which I think Sally's probably the one that was on the early, was ready to go, thinking, yeah, comp's on. Like, that's how she thinks.
Saw a late drop from her there, and she just got pinged by that one. Still plenty of power out in the ocean here at Super 2 Boss. Unable to stick that. She'll keep plugging away. Just a second wave from her. Plenty of time left in that heat. Under half hour. I just wonder at this late stage in her career with Sally, she seems pretty relaxed about the pace. She's pretty comfortable with where she is. She knows her spots on tour. She's kind of got her crew worked out. She just seems to be, she's competing at the highest level, but she's enjoying herself at the same time.
Well, then, I mean, what's the secret to life, right? It's to have fun in no matter what you're doing, even in days that you feel like you're a little bit down. Somehow find something, find that little ray of sunshine. And Sally's one of those surfers and one of those humans that really can do that on an everyday basis.
All right, equipment's always important. We've been speculating about what our surfers are riding this morning. Strider's got some more info.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in on Stephanie Gilmore. So Stephanie's out there. She's on a 6'1", just a little round pintail tri-fin. But the key note here is that she rode that same exact board at Pipeline and at Sunset. So finding a lot of power out here in these waters and just feeling more comfortable on a bigger board and having that confidence after riding it and the familiarity to it. So she decided to ride it here in her heat today. And, once you find that confidence on a board, you just really kind of settle into it, and that's what she's done here. Hopefully it works out for her.
Hey, Strider, in regards to like her shortboard, like this one's kind of like a more juice type of board. I mean, even today, it's kind of still like a shortboard type of equipment, but she's choosing a step up.
Well, you know what? There's so much power in the water here, and this beach break packs a punch. It comes out of deep water, shoves itself up on that sandbar, and really just unloads. And we've seen broken boards today. We've seen broken leashes, and it's just something that you have to understand that what you see on screen here, as you see Steph, cracking away at it, is that bigger board is feeling comfortable under her feet, and the familiarity to it. She's already ridden that at Pipeline. She's ridden it at Sunset, and she knows exactly what it's going to do with the power, and that's something that she brings into the confidence and the headspace in her heat today.
Yeah, and even with the fact that it's kind of a step up, it looks very loose and responsive under her feet. Generally, that's what happens if you start going to a bigger board and it starts to feel too big. Doesn't look that way for Steph under her feet. I mean, she's got precision here on this backhand, gets a little snap. Just the one move there again. That was just more of an adjustment turn. She stays with it, hoping that there's a reform, but nothing there. So just some lower scores here for Steph Gilmore in the beginning stages.
Gilmore looking to smooth out the bumps in this ocean this morning in a clash against her old mate and rival, Sally Fitzgibbons. Here's Gabby Bryant getting ready. Tough heat for her. She's taking on the veteran Courtney Conlog, who doesn't mind the juice, Pete.
No, and neither does Gabriella. So this is a great matchup. Very similar in approach. Both regular footers, both big, powerful forehand snaps and backhand hooks. So a great matchup for these two. Veteran against basically a youngster.
Fitzgibbons hammering it on the backhand. Uses that backhand just to kind of pivot as she hits the lip. She's looking sharp this morning.
Yeah, and all the surfers in this one here between Sally and Steph all going left. So they're sitting on a portion of the bank that's giving them opportunities for some backhand. Sally's going to get I think that's going to be another score. It will be another score to her scoreline, but it's a scoring score, which is going to put a little more extra pressure on Steph Gilmore, her, considering that she's only got a 3.43. Well, I take that back. It's 2.83 there for Sally. With all that foam on the face, so yeah, it's still pretty tight.
She'll get on the Red Bull ski and look to get whizzed back into the lineup. Sally Fitzgibbons here competing against Gilmore this morning and finding left-hander with a bit of power, Pete.
Yeah, that one big snap, and then that's it. The wave goes into the frothiness right there, goes down on that final move. So really the 2.83 came off that little snap. Yeah, it's almost like you are riding a bit of a, you know, I'm wondering how you go and do some training. You know, the mechanical bull might be a good place to learn how to ride a ski. You know, you see all the different techniques that happen. Some people stay on the sled, but when it's bouncy like this, you got to get up on the seat. Always, it actually helps the driver too when you get the weight put up onto the seats. It allows you to kind of maneuver a little bit better. You know, you see side saddle, you see grabbing onto the surfer, you see grabbing onto the strap. So there's all different techniques on how to just hold yourself onto the top of the ski.
It also feels like just get a little bit of a breather, right? Just get up high on there and just kind of maybe just elevate yourself a little bit out of the ocean. Maybe a chance for a couple of breaths for a surfer.
You'd think that, but it actually is pretty tough to ride too, you know? So it's just the quickness. I think that's the main reason why you want to do it. It gets you out in the lineup. You know, if you're paddling out, you could get caught in a zone where you're just stuck, you know, and it takes a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes out of your heat, whereas a ski generally will get you out there quicker. It'll put you into the position. You can kind of almost, you know, decide when you want to jump off, right? So you can kind of position yourself in the lineup. All of those things are very helpful.
Tight heat between Tatiana weston-webb and Teresa bonvalot. At the moment, it's the 5.97 that separates them. That's the score. The Portuguese surfer is hunting still, with just over 4.5 on the clock in that goofy foot clash. And we've seen a couple of flashes from Teresa. She's gone incomplete on some big turns. I like the approach. She needs to get herself away from it. She's gone a little quiet towards the backstage of this heat. The Tatiana, always confident, always intense and aggressive. Coming in here as a defending champ as well. She's going to be really hard to get
and you can see the priority. She's already covering Teresa, sitting right there, just wrapped around her. And that's just a little bit of psychology playing out too, right? You're sitting next to your surfer and you're covering. You know that that's what you got to do when you're at the back end of the heat. But there's still enough time, and Teresa, in her own mind, would not let Tatiana affect her. And that's what the thing is. She's very resilient. Teresa, you know, as sweet as she is on land, you get her in a jersey, and she definitely plays, you know, an aggressive role in the heat.
First appeared in the CT in Portugal down at Cascais as a wildcard at 14 years old. She's been doing this a long time, Pete.
Yeah, she has. And that's what's kind of cool about, you know, the ability to have those wildcards and get that experience at 14. You know, she surfed against Steph Gilmore in that heat. You know, coming up against the world champion, you're a wild card at 14 years old. And that was actually at Courtney, was that where we saw that heat together. Small little conditions. Steph ended up taking the win there. But a great experience for Teresa.
Just over 3 minutes for her to find a wave. Here goes Gilmore on the backhand, a meaty left. Doesn't like the look of it particularly. Looked like she was kicking out, then almost thought twice.
It was like a drop knee little backhand turn. That was kind of stylish. You got some rain, it looks like now too, right?
A little bit of everything coming at us today out of the Atlantic. And after the big, clean, sunny skies of yesterday, it's something else altogether entirely this morning. And you talked about it first thing this morning. It's making those transitions and thinking this is another day. Forget about what we saw yesterday. Just start again. Look at what's in front of you and surf accordingly. That's the key to unlocking scores.
Treat it like it's day one of a competition and you're just going to get what you get, you know. But again, it's so difficult mentally. I mean, I just, even commentary, like talking about it after, you know, you did psychologically, you have to get yourself pumped up. And I think as a surfer, it's even more so, especially when you start seeing the drizzling and the rain. You're like, oh, you know, it'd be easy to just go, gosh, really? Why are we here? But no, you got to say, I'm in this. I want to win a heat, and treat it like you're actually out there having fun.
Tatiana weston-webb still with that lead in the goofy foot clash. Your defending event champ here. Done enough thus far, under the 2-minute mark now for Teresa bonvalot with priority. She's going to have to make a decision soon. She's going to need to use that priority, that requirement, 5.97 to knock out the defending event champ. And our lineup looks a little bit ripped up at the moment. A little bit gloomy. Good news is out the back, we can see a break in the clouds here. And these frontal systems.
See, look, you're doing it right now. You're telling yourself psychologically there's some rays of sunshine there.
Trying to stay positive.
Yes, that's good. You saw me going down into the ditch, huh? Bringing me back. Good job. You're a good partner.
The passage of these fronts that come through, we get a bit of onshore. The wind goes west. Sometimes it even clicks a bit northwest. Then the front goes over.
Look at
Sun
you.
pops out. Wind goes offshore. Hey, things are really looking up.
I love it. I love it. You could probably help coach a few of these surfers today.
A minute to go in our heat number 2 of the round of 16 for the women. Still weston-webb at the moment. It's quiet from bonvalot. She needs to use priority. She will not want to end the heat sitting with priority without having a swing. And as time ticks down, obviously her options will be narrowed somewhat. Scanning the horizon here, Pete, looking for a wave. And this is all about that space between the eyes, that mental space, staying cool, staying calm.
There she goes. This could be the opportunity. She's going to paddle over the top of that one. She has to. She's gotten a bit of separation from Tati, but just hoping for one last chance with 30 seconds to go.
Well, what she doesn't want is a closeout, and that's what that wave was. They see a bigger wave stand up. You think this could be it. That one just straight across our screen, so no scoring potential there. Even if she could take off, she could go straight down the wave. What she wants is something that runs down the line.
No, she has to go right here. This is it.
And she has sat out there with priority for a few minutes, and this will sting right now. It's not a big number she requires, but it's going to stay beyond her. The defending champ, Tatiana weston-webb, will advance out of the round of 16. More live action from Portugal after the break. We're going to bring in Kaipo and Jesse. Stay tuned.
I guess for us surfers, the ocean is our playground. You know, and even if you aren't a surfer, you know, the ocean benefits everybody in the world.
Kelp ecosystems are some of the most valuable ecosystems on the planet because it creates something we call a biogenic habitat that attracts a lot of biodiversity that can really support coastal fisheries. Kelp forests sequester carbon 5 times more efficiently than forests on land. That carbon can then be stored in the deep sea for hundreds of thousands of years, so it's a really good mitigation against climate change.
The WSL grant is an amazing system that works around globally, and for us to be the recipients here in Portugal is something really special because it helped us continue our work and feel supported to then share what we're doing scientifically with the surfing community.
Tell us what you're doing by posting on social media with the hashtag #WeAreOneOcean and tagging WSL and WSL Pure in your post.
We are one ocean!
Welcome back to Super Tubos for the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona. A new matchup in the water. Gabriella, Bryant coming up against Courtney, Conlogue, battling for a spot in the quarterfinals. It's been a challenging morning. Oh, what the difference a day makes, but some important heats going down. I'm Kaipo along with former C-tier Jesse Mendez. Jesse, important heat for Tatiana weston-webb just in that last heat, and she got through that. It just shows like how challenging it is and how important each and every one of these heats are.
Definitely, Kaipo, and mostly going through this round right here is such a huge gap in points, and it's when you start to get actually a good result under your belt. So for those girls, this is a very important round. And yeah, Tachi took the win there. Now we have Steph and Sally in the water, Gabby and Courtney, and yeah, waves are looking fun, very consistent today. We got a little bit of wind, but a lot of opportunity for the surfers out there.
And just a quick catch up with
Sally Fitzgibbons in the non-priority heat. It's an ultra important heat when we talk about the points difference between a ninth and getting into the quarterfinals. We'll get into the points because here's a replay of Sally Fitzgibbons.
Nice tall wave, and I really liked how she was able to keep the speed throughout the whole wave. It's very powerful today, so if they can maintain and use that power into their advantage, they're going to be able to have very dynamic maneuvers. So I think that's what Sally did in that first turn. Unfortunately, she got stuck on the second one. She was probably looking for a very solid score.
Yeah, we'll be waiting for that score, but the conversation with the points is directed at Courtney Conlog in her matchup against Gabriella Bryant. Right now, Courtney with 2 17th place finishes. So she's already got her throwaway. She's number 16 coming into this stop number 3. She's below the cut line for that mid-season cut. Courtney Conlog, this heat has extreme gravity for the surfer out of California. She needs to make this heat or things are looking dark for her to survive that mid-season cut, Jesse.
You're right, Kaipo. She's looking in with her back against the wall as we speak, and but she's a fighter and she's so experienced in those conditions. It feels like she thrives when the conditions are challenging and powerful like we have today. Waves up to maybe 6 foot on the sets, and yeah, I think she could do a lot of damage in these conditions, and hopefully she can get some opportunities and show her surfing, because in Hawaii she wasn't capable of that. And yeah, we'll see what that brings to her.
Yeah, well, they call it the Sea Tiger, so you know she's going to have the claws and the fangs out today. Number comes in for Sally Fitzgibbons on her last effort, a 4-point ride. Fitzgibbons with the lead over Stephanie Gilmore. Gilmore with priority. Gilmore needing just under a 5, a 4.9 to flip the heat. 14 minutes and 35 seconds counting down here.
Yes, and that was as I spoke, she got a 4-point ride basically for that first carve, because she was so dynamic. She had so much speed. She was probably looking into a very healthy score if she was finished. She would have finished that wave. So unfortunately for Sally there, wasn't able to capitalize the most as much as she could, but she did get a backup, so now she's going to build on that.
Yeah, Sally Fitzgibbons, along with Stephanie Gilmore, veterans of the championship tour. Stephanie 16 seasons on the championship tour. Sally 14 seasons on the championship tour. Sally's coming really close, you know, to a world title. She's runner-up in the world in 2010, 2011, 2012, but just has that world title has eluded her. We'll see if this is her year, you know, Sally Fitzgibbons for her first world title.
And talking about that, Kaipo, that's pretty interesting, because probably most of her runner-ups were against Stephanie Gilmore. Yeah. So they're very used to, kind of from the same generation coming out of Australia, and both such a talented surfers, and now they're going head-to-head in different part of their careers, obviously, but it's interesting to see them matching up so early, because they're probably not so used to back in the day.
Yeah, Sally Fitzgibbons 2023 wild card for the championship tour. She actually didn't make, you know, 2022, she didn't make that mid-season cut, but we do offer a wild card, right, as a league, and so Sally Fitzgibbons secured that wild card, and that's why we're seeing her in 2023, and she's going to have to put some effort into it right now. She is just below the cut line at number 12 on the rankings right now. Actually, both surfers in the priority heat are below the cut line. Stephanie Gilmore coming in at number 11 into Portugal. Sally Fitzgibbons, number 12, coming into Portugal. So this is a super important heat between those two surfers. Gabby Bryant, up, out, and that's all she's going to get.
Yeah, it's Gabby, unfortunately, right there. The wave kind of getting a little whitewashy, and we see Sally paddling up.
Fitzgibbons utilizing this left. Patient, looking for the finish. And it looked like she was just there, Jesse.
Yeah, and we see, we talk about that after Steph's wave.
Gilmore also going left. Little check snap off the top, eyes up the finish, glides through there, sits on the rail, and makes sure that she goes complete, showing the judges control. Maybe a little extra on the inside here if things lighten up for the 8-time world champ. And it does. So navigates a little bit of a warble on the inside there. Job well done for Steph Gilmore, sticking with that wave.
Clutch performance for Steph right there. we got 11 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, so she doesn't have a score yet on the board. She does have a 3.43, but that's very low. So that was very important for her to finish that wave off. And just look how much experience she has right here. She sees that this section is not what she needs, so she just kind of plays it calm and just gets that speed to finish the wave very strong on her foot. And that was a very critical turn. The lip was coming down as she was going up, and it was just very hard to manage all that water going through, and even finish with a little nice backside snap right there, and she's gonna get probably the best score of the heat. And on the other side here, Sally was looking good to get a very good score. Nice carve right there. She reads the wave very well throughout that lump and finishes very strong, but as we've seen it before here yesterday, a lot of times when you hit that closeout section, you redirect towards the whitewash, and the whitewash just merges and just destroys you. So that's what happened to Sally there, unfortunately.
Well, you know, we talk about the surfers, but this year we have the CT Shaper rankings as well. So Shapers, in a way, competing against each other for those CT Shaper rankings. You don't get points for those CT Shaper rankings until the quarterfinals. So your surfer has to make it to the quarterfinals. Talk about Steph Gilmore and her shaper, Darren Hanley, DHD. Steph Gilmore is on a 6-1 DHD. It's the same board she rode both at Pipe and Sunset. I'm going to call it the Cash Cow 2. Previous board of Steph Gilmore, she nicknamed the Cash Cow, and she just won so many events on it. It was her magic board. She finally had to retire the Cash Cow, but it seems like she's found the Cash Cow 2 with Darren Hanley designs at the beginning of this season.
Yes, was up and riding Courtney, it looked like, but just a quick one for her. Yes, how important it is actually for the ladies and for the men to have that magic board in this type of season, you know, like you just want to be so dialed in with them. And yeah,
you know, that last wave for Steph Gilmore came out with quite a spread from the judges. Actually, she needed a 4.9, and the spread for Gilmore, you know, we had two. It was a 2 up, 3 down decision here. Let's take a look at it. So 2 judges gave Steph the thumbs up, gave Steph the nod. Yeah, you got the score. 3 judges said no, and there's a spread right there. You know, when we're grouping up these scores, that's a tough one for Steph Gilmore.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and I expect that wave to be a little bit higher. As I spoke, it came as the best wave of the heat, but very close, just 0.1 from Sally's best wave. Obviously, we were looking at the camera here, and maybe the size of the wave, you kind of make the score go a little low. But this last turn, check this out. It was very critical, super hard to do. She was very composed. Just came out pretty clean as well for how critical the section was. And she had a little extra way down on the inside, which it doesn't count too many points for the judges, but it is an extra right there. Finished it pretty clean, got up vert, and yeah, I expected to go a little higher that wave, but
I did as well. That's why I wanted to mention that spread, and it was good that we got to take a look at the numbers.
Yes.
Yolanda Hopkins, she's on her way out. She's going to be faced against 5-time world champ Carissa Moore in the next heat. Local wild card has a big opportunity in front of her coming up in 8 minutes.
Yes, and I spoke before about her. I know her not so well, but I know her a bit, and I know where she lives, and she has very similar conditions in one of the beach breaks that I've surfed there before. And actually, she lives around 3 hours away south from here. And I think she's going to be very dangerous for Carissa. Obviously, Carissa being the best female surfer in the past few years, as we know, so consistent, sold out in every condition, but Yolanda is probably going to put her into the works.
Yeah, Yolanda, so she's south of Lisbon, her local break.
Yes, she lives in Alentejo, which is a region 2 hours south of Lisbon.
Okay. Thank you for the insight. Well, let's pay attention right now to the priority heat, the battle between the veterans, Steph Gilmore and Sally Fitzgibbons. Gilmore still trailing Sally, needs a 3.9 right now. She's under Sally's priority. You can see the 2 surfers sticking pretty close together right now in the lineup. Sally with a watchful eye over Steph Gilmore. Sally would probably want to do a little bit of defense, take a wave away from Steph, and then some offense and better her score line in the ultimate scenario for Fitzgibbons.
Yes, and I think we spoke about that a few times, but we have to mention again, Right now, obviously, she's just right by Steph, and Steph up and riding.
Steph gets away from Sal. Oh, and just catches a awkward piece of water, catches the rail, and goes incomplete. So she's going to paddle back out. She's got enough time for a few more swings at it. Hey, Luisa, good morning.
Good morning, bom dia, Portugal. Yes, like it feels like a complete, total different beach from we had this past mornings, you know, but we do have some loyal fans braving the weather. It's funny because by the time I left the athlete zone, it was raining and I got down to the sand and the rain completely stopped. So it feels like we're gonna have all the 4 seasons in one day like we had yesterday. And as I mentioned, I was just floating around talking to the athletes, and they are total like upgrading their game for this upcoming heats, you know, thickening their leashes, getting a little warmer with their wetsuits, and all the girls are pretty happy that jet skis are available for this condition. So let's see what we're gonna see throughout the day, because it feels like the day is gonna be full of surprises. Back to you.
Thank you. As we see Gabby Bryant finishing off a ride in her challenge against Courtney Conlogue. So that's going to be first real number for Gabriella Bryant. Just has a fractional score so far in her scoreline. Yeah, what a difference a day makes. And we look at this beautiful beach here. That was all human beings yesterday, by the way. We had a crowd on a sunny Sunday here in the great surf town of Peniche. We had a crowd north of 40,000 people in attendance yesterday.
Wow, I did not expect that number, but I did notice how packed as I was leaving the contest area. The traffic going towards Lisbon was next level, and I was like, wow, I did not want to be going home to Lisbon right now.
We had people walking many kilometers all the way through, all through the sand dunes and through the pass and everything. But what a great country and surf country Portugal is. I enjoy coming back here every single year. I mean, hey, the news is out, you guys. Great people, great culture, great food, great waves. Everything's here in Portugal.
Yes, and as I spoke about Courtney for how tough she would be in these conditions, on the other hand, we have Gabby, which she comes from Hawaii.
Yeah.
I surfed a bunch of places that she is used to surfing, and actually very not similar conditions, but the beach breakers that
like
we
pine
have
trees,
there.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is could be pine tree-ish.
Totally, because it's super powerful. It has a lot of backwashes, and there's a lot of other waves too that are beach breaks that kind of similar to this. So as you see, she seems very comfortable. That wave was so tricky to ride, and she just tear it apart. Didn't get the biggest score because the wave didn't provide, but great surfing for her.
Speaking of pine trees, and Jesse dropping some knowledge, let's hear Tatiana weston-webb drop some knowledge right now, because she won her last heat. She's in the quarterfinals.
Tatiana, the defending champ here in Portugal, but it doesn't mean today's conditions were any easier. What were you battling through?
Yeah, today's conditions were really tough, but I think all the girls had their competitive hats on and they were ready for today. They kind of advised us yesterday that we'd probably be on this morning because the forecast doesn't look that good. So, yeah, I think it was just kind of like you versus the sea, and not really like your competitor, even though heat management was something that I took really seriously in that heat, just because I know what that is and knows Super Tools really well, and yeah, I just didn't want to give her any opportunities.
And you certainly made sure that you made the most of your opportunities. What was your strategy? What did you want to do on the waves?
Honestly, I didn't surf the way I wanted to surf, really. I think I clicked in on my right a bit better, but it was kind of just adjusting. I didn't get to get a free surf in before the heat, so I think I just picked some open waves and did some turns. I'm just happy that I made it.
You are on to the quarters. Before we let you go, você quer mandar mensagem para o Brasil?
Sim, queria agradecer todo mundo que está aí assistindo, torcendo, tamo junto, e queria dar uma boa sorte para a Bia, porque ela está no Indian Wells competindo, então boa sorte, Bia, tamo aqui.
Parabéns.
That was awesome interview.
What'd she say at the end?
She was just giving a shout out to Bia Haddad, which is a tennis player, and she has her name on the jersey, and she's actually playing on the Indian Wells as we speak, so she was giving her good luck.
Oh, nice. Gabby Bryant, she had a 4.33 on her last wave. Here she is again. Nice patient approach and is able to avoid poking the nose there. Went down in the foam just for a sec, but solid stance, solid surfing for Gabby Bryant.
Yeah, there's no downtime for Gabby. It's always so solid on her board. Just it never seems like anything's gonna buckle her out of it. And yeah, Courtney Conlogue on the other hand.
Courtney Conlogue swooping through a carve. Conlogue sets up again. Another check turn for the Sea Tiger. Looking for that oncoming section, building up some speed, meets it. Slashes through, needs to hang on. Does a great job of hanging on for the completion. Now she's gonna prone in and set up for a Red Bull jet ski ride back out to the peak.
What a battle we have right now, even though it's kind of a median to the lower scores for those two girls, but they really going back to back, and Gabby's starting it off with a great ride, and then Courtney backing it up very strong as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this heat plan out.
Wow, so Sally Fitzgibbons in the priority heat has the lead, has priority over Stephanie Gilmore. It doesn't look like Steph's going to be able to escape that heat control from Sally Fitz. She needs a 3.9, but with the clock ticking down and Sally Fitzgibbons with the lead and priority, she is not going to allow Steph Gilmore to catch a wave right now. She's going to play the ultimate defense in these last 15 seconds to close out this heat and earn her spot into the quarterfinals, Jesse.
Very important heat for both of those surfers. They just know how important it is to go through that round, and Sally just keeping an eye on her right there.
Smiles right there. You know, Steph knew exactly what Sally was going to play. You can't hold it against your fellow competitor when it's just such an obvious strategy in the last 30 seconds. All you can do is kind of laugh at yourself. That's all you're going to get. You know what? Sally Fitzgibbons, she's going to get a spot in the quarterfinals, and we'll get to more surfing. When we return, Carissa Moore is going to be in the lineup against an exciting wild card.
You by Yeti, built for the wild. By Visit Portugal, official tourism partner of the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal. And by EDP, official partner of the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal.
Round of 16 is out in the water right now at the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona. And enter the 5-time world champ and gold medalist Carissa Moore is coming up against the wild card Yolanda Hopkins. Meanwhile, in the priority heat, we have a very, very close match between Courtney Conlogue and Gabriella Bryant. A 9.4 versus a 9.5 in the 2-wave total. Here's we got our new heat, Carissa Moore, and a opportunity right now, Jesse, for the local wild card, Yolanda Hopkins.
That's a great opportunity, biggest stage you can have on surfing. She's surfing at home, so home crowd advantage there for her, so it's a great opportunity for her to do her best, blow up, and maybe even take down the world champ.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing but an upside when you come into here as a wild card. Of course, she being a local wild card, she's not going to be keeping her points, so she's just doing it for a reputation and money. This happened before the break, so we're reviewing these waves again. This was a 5.17 for Gabriella Bryant, Jesse.
Yes, great surfing for Gabby right there. Such a tough wave to handle, so much whitewash. So what that does, it just makes your board more unstable and harder to control. And here you see Courtney just a little bit more torque, and then this transition, she tags at that, generating speed down the line, and this closeout section was the money turn. Go just against it, push it very hard, and was able to come out pretty clean from it.
And that's why it went a half a point higher than Gabriella Bryant, a 5.67 for that effort from Courtney Conlogue. As we look at that heat and their two-wave total, 9.9 versus 9.5 on the two-wave total. Very, very close heat. Sally Fitzgibbons, all smiles coming out of her matchup against Steph Gilmore. And like you said, it was a very, very important matchup. Steph Gilmore being 11th on the rankings, Sally being 12th on the rankings coming in here. So talking about, you know, mid-season cut scenarios is going to play into Sally Fitzgibbons' favor right now.
Yes, and also she just took down number 11, so
yeah.
That's
she got
also
two things done at one time, right?
At one. That was as good as it gets for her in that heat.
There we go. We're looking at our leaderboard coming into this event. Sally Fitzgibbons is going to be in the quarterfinals. Shaded out are all the surfers who are eliminated from competition. Carissa Moore kicking out of her opening wave. She had just an up and down, like an O for her opening wave. We'll wait for this score. It's going to be a small one too, not going to factor into the heat.
Yes, it just looked like a very shorter corner wave for her, so she wasn't able to do much. But it also looks like she was right on the rip exit right there, so it looks like she's going to paddle back out pretty easy. And on the other hand, Yolanda on a critical turn right there under the lip, free fall and coming back towards it. Looks like the wave kind of disappeared on her, unfortunately, because that was a very strong turn to start that wave.
Yeah, Yolanda Hopkins, just 25 years old, the local wild card. Also represented Portugal in the Olympics as well.
Yes, yes. She, even though she's pretty young, she already has some experience on the QS Olympics, so she's gonna give a very tough job for Carissa today.
Smiling Sally Fitzgibbons up against the glass with Louisa.
Always smiling. The clash of titans in the water. Sally, what a curve, huh? Elimination round, now sending the goat home. But I have a question for you. You guys faced each other so many times in the water and scored 10s. So when you surf a heat that you just scored like 5s and 4s, how does that victory land on you?
Oh, it's what I love about the game. Like, you paddle out and you're hoping for the ultimate performance, but at times, you know, that reminded me of a heat we had back in Fiji, and you know, it got to the final and it kind of went devil wind, and she only needed the 3. It was same down at Bells too in a final, and she only needed that small score, and sometimes you just have to, you know, dig deep. And like I said, I got Leno on my back this week, and she's the ultimate competitor, and a lot of the times it's like what you're not doing on the wave in those instances. And yeah, that I was the most proud of myself, the way I managed that last 5 to 7 minutes, because there's an opportunity to go, but I really wanted to take her opportunity, so I had to hold my nerve.
So many memories. But you just said sometimes is what you don't do on the wave. So what is that all about here?
Oh, especially I had those opportunities, and just trying to manage that last turn on the backwash, and obviously that kind of like, you feel that little sting when you don't capitalize, and often you can't make those mistakes, but I just knew I just had to keep rolling the dice, and I was like, hey, what do I got to do next? So it was how I dealt with those little errors, and then yeah, went out there, and yeah, I felt really calm in that situation. But for sure, it's why I love the game. It's why I show up every morning, and yeah, we just love our surf battles.
And talking about what you're going to do next, you're still in competition. What do you have under your sleeve from now on?
Oh, I actually can't wait to get a really clean section and open up with the surfing that I do day to day in my training. Like, it's been a while since I've had that feeling where I've just, you know, had the opportunity to meet kind of like my surfing, and that's why, yeah, hopefully I make some more rounds. I want to do some more surfing for everyone, and feel that energy from back home. So I got all that in my legs, ready to go. A lot of petrol in the tank.
I wish you guys could feel the energy right here, because it's pretty high. Congratulations, Sally. You deserve it.
Yoo-hoo. Hi, everyone back home.
All right, cutting to Yolanda Hopkins kicking out of her wave. It's interesting, Steph Gilmore getting taken out by Sally Fitzgibbons. Sally Fitzgibbons, with her inspiration on her back, Lane Beachley, a 7-time world champ. So maybe Lane Beachley was giving a little energy as a 7-time world champ going against the 8-time world champ and Steph Gilmore in that matchup, Jesse.
Yes, and I also thought it was very interesting that she mentioned that she felt like still this year she wasn't able to open up and get the opportunity that she wanted. So this is what happens with surfing. Sometimes you're so dialed, you're trained, you're feeling your best surfing you ever had, but then you just don't get the opportunities, and that's how nature is. So hopefully for her it turns the page around, and now she can get some momentum.
Speaking of opportunities, Yolanda Hopkins is a wild card, young wild card, has a big opportunity against the world champ right now, and she has the biggest score in that matchup. She dropped a 5.67, and here it is right at the beginning of the heat.
And that was great. This is all came from this very critical turn. And I think that's her strength, right? She's very powerful, solid on her foot, and this is going to be her strength, and she's applying as we speak. Check this out. Deep bottom turn, as critical as you can get, just redirecting super deep and coming out with a lot of speed. Unfortunately, that wave for her just died out. But if she keeps pushing the way she is, she has great chances of beating the champ.
Courtney Conlog in the priority heat against Gabriella Bryant. Does have the lead right now, wants to build on that lead, just finishing up that ride. And Conlog's going to take her way in. She's got 10 minutes, 20 seconds, as well as jet ski assist to get her back out into lineup. We've got the Red Bull jet skis zipping around and picking up our surfers on the inside and depositing them back out north of the break, and they'll just paddle back to the peak, a short paddle back to the peak from there.
Yes, and we look back at nice fade there for the takeoff, identifying that the wave didn't have too much wall in front of her. It was very cornery, but that wave just not offering enough, and she's going to get the ski and paddle back out and try to batter that 4.23. But what a tight heat we have in the other hand. Courtney and Gabby, just a fraction of difference in between them two, and this is going to be a very exciting 9 minutes and 40 seconds.
It sure is. It's a even Steven battle between these two as we see the Red Bull jet ski navigating the waters for the drop off. Easier time for the jet ski drivers today as opposed to yesterday, where it took a lot of skill on the PWC to be able to get in and out of this lineup.
Yes, I think because the wave breaks so close to the shore, it just gives them such a tight transition and not much time to maneuver throughout the waves. And yeah, there's waves coming from every direction. You have the backwashes, you have the waves coming kind of sideways from the west, and then you have more the peaky ones. So it's just chaos out there yesterday and today. Carissa up and riding.
Here comes Carissa Moore, and she gets caught on the toes, goes down. So still yet to break a 2 in her scoreline. Husband Luke right there, giving some signals from the beach and some positive energy. Still plenty of time though in that matchup. 28 minutes and 35 seconds between Yolanda Hopkins and Carissa Moore. Yolanda with the lead and priority at the moment.
Yeah, and Carissa being probably the most powerful surfer we have on tour for the women's side. And with these conditions, if she just keeps it simple and do one big turn, she is definitely capable of matching the score as Yolanda has already with that 5.67.
Macy Callahan on her way out. She's going to be up next against Betty Lou Sakura Johnson.
Yeah, the surfers really identify the left side of the scaffolding being a much cleaner area for them to identify the quality waves. This morning, Molly Picklum had a great performance, and she was surfing more towards the middle of the scaffolding. But right now, looking back at the ocean, there's so much water exit coming out of that little bank that is just literally impossible for them to find anything, and they just move down to the left more.
Conlog finds a right, slashing off the top, hangs on for the finish, and that was an important wave to hang on to for Courtney Conlog. Her last wave did not improve her scoreline. Up and out by Yolanda Hopkins. Yo-Yo in the lead against Carissa Moore in the non-priority heat.
What an effort for Courtney. Such a tough wave to ride. As critical as it gets, that section in the end. She was a little late to the party, but she was able to stick and come out pretty clean for how wobbly and how much water was moving around. And yeah, she looked great on that wave.
Here we go, Gabby Bryant And wave selection, not up to par on that one. She's going to kick out and remain with priority in her matchup as we're inside the 7-minute mark in the priority heat. Conlogue with the lead. We're still waiting for another score for Courtney Conlogue. We'll see if she increases that lead over Gabriella Bryant. Bryant on the paddle back out, likely to regain priority. That's our site right there, and that's where Strider Wazalewski, he's in the Red Bull athlete zone. What do you got, Strider?
You know, we got everybody hanging out down here. You know, Luke Egan over my shoulder here. He's been watching it for Caroline Marks, and they've been trying to figure out exactly which peak to sit on out there. You got Griffin sitting around waiting for a call to be made. There was a big conversation about whether or not, you know, to run, and he was just like, you know what, I'm here. Whatever you guys call on, I'm ready for. He doesn't want to have any of that responsibility in his mindset because that just adds another element. He just wants to go do his job. Over in the sauna, which you can't see, Molly Picklum sitting in there. She's fully clothed, beanie on, hoodie on her phone, just staying warm, trying to keep the core warm over there. So, there's just so many different little scenarios and scenes going on here in the Red Bull athlete area. Pretty fun to tap into them all and get all the information. And out in the water right now, well, it actually looks really fun. I feel like, if you showed up on the beach, you had that mindset of having surfed in a month, you'd be psyching to get out there.
I love Griffin. Did you see him behind behind Strider right there? And that's what's so funny about Griffin, and he kind of translates that to his surfing. He's so relaxed, even though he's in a heat with a jersey on, which makes most people a little bit stiffer. I'm sure like he's feeling it, but he doesn't show it to anyone. He just looks always so loose, and yeah, it's just great to watch him surf in and out of the water as well.
Yeah. The Red Bull athlete zone, it's pretty deluxe in there. And there's the sauna with Pickles, Molly Picklum in there, having a conversation and keeping warm at the same time. Looks cozy.
Looks cozy, and her phone must be very warm right there.
That's a good look there. All right, well, last score. It was a big score for Courtney Conlogue, a 7.17 for the Sea Tiger, and she increases her lead over Gabriella Bryant in the priority heat. Priority heat with just under 5 minutes remaining. Here comes Gabby. She needs a big score right now. She needs a big maneuver. Puts it up, puts it down, and looking for a 7.67. She's going to lean on that single big turn to see if she can gain that number. Conlogue behind her, looking for the barrel. Finds a little tube and an exit.
Wow, that was impressive. So it's her and Molly that found barrels today, and this is incredible. Like, just such a good read on the ocean and the wave as well, because it's so tough out there for you to find that pocket and that cleanness in the wave, because we got some onshore winds. But that was incredible, and late takeoff there for her, just identifying the wave was clean and doubling up, and just great stall. Wasn't so deep, but that was a great ride for her. And on the other hand, right here, very big wave for Gabby Bryant, and just pushing the back foot. That was a great, very critical, very steep wave. And even though I don't think she's going to get to the 7.67, but I feel like she's going to better her position and probably close the gap a little bit more.
Yeah, well, and I guess the other question for you, Jesse, did Courtney do better than her backup of 5.67 to change that math really for Gabriella Bryant? That's something we're gonna have to see.
I know it's a tricky one for me as we speak. That angle, let's see what Carissa does right here.
Carissa needs to come back right now. Eases through a cutback, setting up for the inside. A little dig of the rail is gonna slow her forward momentum, and still off step. The 5-time world champ has yet to break a 2 in this matchup. 22 minutes remaining, so she's going to have to regather herself in the back half of her 40-minute heat against Yolanda Hopkins.
Yes, she definitely needs to regroup, but she's very good at that, and now she has the priority heat, so probably a little bit better choices she can make on wave selection. So we're probably going to see her swing a few times, and usually pretty well. But back on the Courtney analogy, it's a tough one for me to digest right now. I think it was a very good wave reading for her, and I think we have the 7.17, which is her previous wave, which was a very nice rep. And this is where all the score came down. Just a little bit late to the party, but so critical, so aggressive, and so hard to stick. And she was just right there. She's doing a deep bottom turn. And I think she's going for the first turn right here. Wraps it around very nice. It was a tall wave. And this is where she gets all her scores from. Even though she was a little late, look how critical and tall that section was. She disappears and then comes out pretty clean. And yeah, that was very critical for her.
Yeah, able to stomp that on the Stamps surfboard. Courtney Conlog looking solid. Carissa Moore doing a board change. She didn't like the feeling of that board in the first half of the heat, and that was actually evident, right? We saw like sticky rails for Carissa Moore, so now she's gonna have 20 minutes on brand new equipment and see if that's gonna glide through the water better for her. She's get the Red Bull jet ski ride on the outside. Meanwhile, Courtney Conlog's got Gabriella Bryant back against the wall. Gabriella still trailing, needs that 7.67.
She got an identical score for that one turn, right?
Yeah, so it didn't really change the situation.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit higher. That was a very critical turn, a super powerful tall wave. But yeah, I guess the judges didn't think so, and that's why we're here, just speaking about it.
Well, Conlogue's staying busy out there. She's caught over 11 waves and staying busy. That strategy looks like it's going to pay off for the Sea Tiger. This was an important heat for Courtney Conlogue, coming in with basically two throwaways. She needs a big result here in Portugal, and she's one step closer to that big result. Courtney Conlogue on to the quarterfinal. We're on to a quick commercial break. We'll return. Belu Sakura Johnson, Macy Callahan, they'll be out there.
She just owns her story and is super authentic.
She's a really powerful woman. She stands up for herself.
There are two women that have busted down the doors.
She's broken a bunch of records in the Olympics, and she just inspires me a lot.
Because she had a tough run and she came back strong.
Because she's honestly on a tear right now.
She always motivates me and sends me messages to get me pumped.
She's just supportive of the next generation of women.
She's gonna be one of the best we've ever seen at the sport. She's the best in the world.
I just love the way that she carried herself. She was just cool.
Mia Haddad Maya. Dash Brody.
Venus and Serena Williams.
Naomi Osaka.
Sam Kerr.
Luisa Stefani.
Nora Vasconcelos.
Nawal Mutawakil.
Haisa Leal.
Katie Ledecky.
Marta.
Susie O'Neill.
We are at the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona, and the WSL as well as Rip Curl are proudly coming together to celebrate International Women's Day. And we got two women in the water. Challenger Series champ Belu Sakura Johnson up against runner-up in the 2022 Challenger Series, Macy Callahan. Both of these surfers falling off tour, getting back onto the championship tour. They came in 1 and 2 in that Challenger Series in 2022, and now they're faced off against each other here in Heat 6 of the round of 16. It's Kaipo and Jessie Mendez. Your thoughts on that matchup? Two young surfers.
That's a great match. Macy definitely on the edge for experience right there. She's been on tour for a little longer. But on the other hand, just Sakura, one of the best talents coming up right now. And Yolanda up and right. A nice crack right there for her.
Yeah, in the priority heat now, Yolanda Hopkins had actually the number on Carissa Moore up until now. She's had the lead the entire heat over the 5-time world champ. We're down to 16 minutes and 25 seconds in that priority heat. Carissa Moore looking to make a comeback. Moore needs at this point a 2.68 to turn the heat, but that's going to change. That need is going to be a little bit larger when Yolanda's last wave score comes through.
Yes, let's see what comes up, but definitely she's going to better that 0.5 that she has as a backup. And look how many waves. She had 4 waves and below 1 point right, and right here she's going to be stoked with that score. Probably going to apply some more pressure to Carissa, increasing her lead.
Yeah, 3.43 comes in for Yolanda Hopkins. Now the need for Carissa Moore, a 5.61. Moore with priority, yellow leader jersey on her back. And now the 5-time world champ needs to kind of manage, I feel, some pressure coming onto her.
Yes, but she's so used to that. Imagine how many times in way tougher situations, needing a way bigger score, she turned the heat over. Obviously, we got some challenging conditions today, but on the other hand, we have a lot of opportunities. So I'm sure she's going to step it up this last few minutes and, yeah, put on a show for us.
Courtney Conlog, the Sea Tiger, we're going to see her in the quarterfinals. Let's hear from her.
Guys, we're just laughing here. Like, she was super active, lots of waves. Courtney, Gabby had a great year last year, Rookie of the Year, you know, and we talked before how last year was heavy for you. So how does it feel to score the highest heat of the day right now?
Oh, sweet. I don't know. I was just focusing on catching a lot of waves, staying busy, you know, and my rhythm at the start of the season was really bumpy and volatile. I felt like my training sessions weren't matching my performance, so just working towards linking the two of them together. And, you know, the conditions are really tough out there. It feels like onshore Golden West or something at home. And, you know, I'm just drawing off my knowledge right now and digging deep.
Sure. And I've seen you watching the conditions since very early this morning, and it's changing so much. So when you're in the water and you just feel it, how do you even put together a game to make it through?
I think the biggest thing, you create a plan, but then you have to be able to adapt and, you know, flow with the ocean. The ocean, you always try to predict it, but it's very unpredictable. And in conditions like this, I think just giving yourself the opportunity and checking out the waves is so key. And yeah, it just felt good to get a rhythm. You know, I had a bit of a rough start in that heat, and I was just trying to get that connection with me in the ocean going.
Amazing. And we had some technical problems when we were talking about Lisa Anderson, which is your inspiration for this event. And your story with her is so nice. So let's talk about it again.
Yeah, you know, the reason I'm wearing Lisa's name on my jersey is, you know, I've grown up looking up to her. Wow, someone must have did something great. But being a 4-time world champion from the U.S. and someone who actually coached me at X Games and gave me the opportunity to rise to the occasion at Puerto Escondido. And, you know, she's just been a great mentor in the small moments I've had with her. And I remember when I was in high school at Sage, and I'd call her at like 4 in the morning, and she would take the moment to answer the phone, give me the chance. And, you know, anyone that does that, I really appreciate, and I have so much gratitude for her. And her impact for me has created me to want to inspire that next generation. And yeah, I look up to her a lot.
Amazing. Congratulations to you.
Yeah,
kudos
you.
to Lisa Anderson, a champ
We love you,
in and
Lisa.
out of the water. That's it.
Awesome.
All right, yeah, Lisa Anderson, world champ, successful in succession, I should say, from 1994 through 1997, dominated women's professional surfing, and was a pioneer really in performance surfing during that period, raising the bar. We got some big numbers coming through right now because during that interview, we saw Yolanda Hopkins yo-yo. Goes up, goes down, and sticks around for a 6.1. Yolanda Hopkins now. Talk about pressure on the world champ. This is it.
Yes, look at this turn right there. Just so vertical, air dropping off the sky right there. She felt very confident when she was kicking out of that. She knew it was a good turn. Right here, so much pressure on the back foot, just really exploding that maneuver right there, and so technical and very hard to land. And she looks at the scaffolding, knows it's going to be a good score, and applying more pressure. On the other hand, right here, Sakura, just a quick one-turner right there. Didn't give her too much time for the setup, but she did as much as she could. But what I loved right here on Yolanda is just there's so much going on for her to get rattled about Carissa. You know, you're paddling out against one of the best surfers to ever step on top of a board. Puts on heats it very well, but she just stick to her game and applied pressure, did good turns and got good scores.
Yeah, I mean, 6.1, that 5.67 for Yolanda Hopkins. Yo-yo really going for it and putting a risky maneuvers and putting it down, just looking so solid. Yeah, Carissa Moore needs a big number, 7.94. Caitlyn Simmers, she's getting ready. She looks pretty casual strolling down the beach. Here we go. Moore needs something now. Quick snap to look down the line. Glides through that section there. That's the start for Carissa Moore. Looking to just chip away. She's probably not going to get the 7.94 right there, but she has time enough to make it up in 2 waves. You know, really what Carissa needs, she can do it with 2 6s at the moment.
Yes, and I think that's what she should be looking for, because if you look at a 7.94 is the best wave of the day so far. Right. So that's going to be very hard to find. And here you see Carissa identifying a very clean wave. Nice whip right there. Looks like this board's a little bit faster, a little bit sharper. Finishes strong, and she's definitely going to be back in the heat after this wave.
Yeah. One more time from above, and this is what world champs need to do, right? Battle back when in a compromising position, keeping your head cool, surfing to the criteria. Carissa Moore, we'll see what that number comes and what the situation's going to be. We're just under the 10-minute mark in that priority heat.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting that he mentioned that the other board she looked a little off on top of it, and this one just, you could see a little bit more speed, a little sharper. She looked a little quicker. So I think it's going to play off very well in this beach break conditions.
More on the board change, I'll go shout out to AJ. What do you got for us on that equipment change, AJ?
Kaipo, Jesse, it's no wonder Carissa's looking maybe a little bit more comfortable on her equipment, and she went back to the same 510 that she rode in the opening round. She was on the 511 Mayhem subdriver. It's the same exact board, but just an inch smaller, which her coach Mitchell told me she just wanted to go back to that one. It worked for her in the opening round, and looks like she's feeling a little bit more comfortable on it.
Thank you, AJ. Well, she did with that board change. She has put down her biggest score so far in this matchup, a 4.6. She's reduced the requirement against Yolanda Hopkins. Moore looking for a 7.17 right now. And, you know, with surfboards, as we know, Jesse, you know, an inch can make a difference in the performance of a surfboard, just how it affects the rail line of a board, because you can feel that extra inch of rail for sure. Here's Carissa Moore. Quick back outside, quick back to her feet. Little carve there. Wants something exciting for the finish. Gets up and times it well. Ahead of the backwash, 7.17. You can see the look on Carissa's face and just like the effort she's putting into it right now. There's a sense of urgency with the 5-time world champ.
Yes, I think that urgency just kind of caught up to her. This is a nice wrap right here, but this second turn where there's more juice on the wave, she ended up missing time a little bit. But as you see right here, this board, I'm very used to the subdriver because I used to ride for Mayhem back in the day. And not back in the day because I'm not that old, but a few years ago. And the subdriver just a little bit flatter rocker, so it glides through those flat sections very well. And that just showed how much speed she carried throughout that, that whole wave. So I think it was a great, smart decision for her to switch on this beach break conditions. As soon as she get a good wave and put her foot in the wax pretty well, I think she's capable of doing good damage.
Oh man, you know, we had two come into this stop number 3 with that yellow leaders jersey, Carissa Moore and Molly Picklum. Molly Picklum, she's in the quarterfinals right now. Carissa Moore, you know, if she wants to hang on to that yellow jersey, needs to match the performance. Big snap there on the backhand by Macy Callahan in her matchup against Betty Lou Sakura Johnson. Sakura so far has a 4-point ride already in the score bank. We'll see what Macy comes up with on that last ride in the non-priority heat.
Yeah, great turn for Macy right there. I think on her first heat, she also got her best score with just one turn wonder. It was a critical section. Kind of different day, but similar approach to what she did just now. As you see here, she takes off, just eyeing it down that critical section and just applying a lot of pressure. Got some tail release right there, brought it back under her chest very well. So that was very well executed for her, and I think she's going to get a good score for that one turn.
Score came in for last of Carissa Moore as we're finishing up this replay. A 3.9 or more, still needs that 7.17 in the priority heat. Waiting for the score for Macy Callahan at the moment. And Carissa Moore, like we said, we had two yellow leader jerseys coming into stop number 3. Molly Picklum and Carissa Moore. They had the exact amount of points. Both of them with 14,745 points, leaving the Hawaii leg of the tour. Picklum into the quarterfinals. It's a tug of war now, Jesse, for that yellow leaders jersey. Let's take a look at our tour leaderboard. Grayed out are the surfers out of competition.
Yeah, and that's very tough to happen on two surfers sitting in number 1. I don't think that happens many times, so they're just going from second event of the year just so tight, and it's just going to show how tight of a competition is going to be all the way through.
Yeah, so Brisa, Hennessy, Caroline Marks, you can see them at 5 and 6. If Carissa was to go down and Molly Picklum was to go down in the quarters, they do have a long shot of getting that yellow leader jerseys going into stop number 4, the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach. We'll keep you updated on all of those scenarios, but the immediate scenario right now is for the 5-time world champ to get a 7.17 or better and advance into the quarterfinals. The young Portuguese wild card has been quite a challenge to Carissa Moore in this heat, Jesse.
Yeah, and you see she's putting a lot of pressure in Carissa right there, just paddling arm to arm on that one. Ended up losing priority, so now it's going to be Carissa Moore's turn. And yeah, she has a chance, 7.17. She's totally capable of doing that.
All right, well, this is where world champs do their thing. Carissa Moore, a priority error by the wild card, Yolanda Hopkins, on that paddle. Lost priority. She had lead in the heat, a big lead in the heat, actually. So now Carissa Moore, Jesse, got a chance.
Yeah, leaving the door open. It's a big task for her today. 7.17 ain't easy to find out there. I think the toughest problem for her is just to identify that clean section and that clean wave that's going to give her the opportunity for. And with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left, let's see what's going to play it out in the end of this heat.
Yeah, tense times out there for Carissa Moore. This is not good for my fantasy. Not that it matters in the big scenario, but still got some skin in the game in a way, so it's
always. And
here she goes. Carissa Moore needs a 7.17. Hacks a big layback. One turn, however, she's going to lean on that one layback hack for that 7.17. We saw big turns for Yolanda Hopkins, getting a 6-point ride, a 5.67. Your thoughts on that?
That was a different approach, and that's what Carissa kind of can bring to the table. Maybe not as critical of a section because she didn't hit the lip, but just right there, lay back, disengaging the fins, coming out with a lot of control. So that's going to be a great score for her. Check this out. Just looked like she lost control of it, but that was all on purpose, and that's just how critical that turn was.
Is it a 7.17, however? That's really the conversation at the moment. We know it's going to be her best score probably of the heat, but will it go up into that range?
Yeah, it's a tough one to say. I don't think the section was critical enough.
Yeah.
Technical-wise, it was up there, but the section just didn't deliver as much as she was probably hoping for.
And it didn't. A 5.63 for Carissa Moore. Moore still trailing. Needs a 6.14 right now. Under 2 minutes. 2-minute drill for the 5-time world champ, as we see Macy Callahan catch a rail there in the foam against Beilu Sakura Johnson. Macy, her previous wave was a 5.83, so she is in the lead in the non-priority heat.
And she actually has a great first score of 5.83 against Betty Lou that has 4-point ride. That's a big gap. So Betty up and riding right now as we speak.
Sakura touches the rail off the bottom. Nice carve off the top for the surfer out of Haleiwa. Difficult section there. You could see the backwash hitting her while she was doing that whitewater climb, and that bucks her off.
Yeah, and that was unfortunately because that looked like a great wave. And I think, in my perspective right there, what happened was she comes off this first turn, does a nice bottom turn and carves it down. And right here, there's a lump, and she's relying a lot on her back foot to drive through that bottom turn. And what that does sometimes, if the lump hits you, it's just going to generate way more speed than you expect. And that's why she probably lost a lot of her control right there. See it? She was relying on her back foot and just extra power that she didn't need right there, and with that lump just generate too much speed and she lost control.
30 seconds, Jesse, remaining in the priority heat. Yo-Yo looking like she's gonna go to the quarterfinals right now. Macy Callahan finding a couple of nice sections there on the backhand again. Callahan in the lead over Sakura. She's going to get a jet ski right out, but meanwhile, the clock is ticking down just 10 seconds. And it looks like the Portuguese wild card is going to take down Carissa Moore in the round of 16 and earn a spot in the quarterfinals.
Yes, great surfing for Yolanda, taking it down. A huge name right there. And yeah, good for her. Such a strong athlete and such a hungry surfer. She's probably stoked right now.
Wow, well, a big upset coming off of this heat. We're gonna take every time for everyone to calm down. We're taking a break. We'll bring in Paul, Peter, and Strider to talk you through the next heat. Okay.
Dramatic scenes on the beach in Portugal, where Yolanda Hopkins from Portugal, the MEO wildcard into the event, just dumped out a 5-time world champ, the yellow jersey of Carissa Moore, out of competition here at the MEO Rip Curl Portugal Pro. And Yolanda will be enjoying her moment in the sun. She's going to prepare for quarterfinals. That's what's at stake here in this round of 16. And joining myself, Paul Evans, talk you through it. Peter Mel and Strider Wazalewski. There's plenty happening out there, chaps.
Big win right there for Yolanda. Biggest of her career, you know, right here in her home country. Wild card up against the #1 surfer. one of the best ever, Carissa Moore. So I would say that that's a huge confidence builder for her.
On the vert backhand and just really ripping into it, and it was just a point of difference for you know, her against Carissa Moore, who you would think would be doing that type of surfing herself.
Let's check out a scintillating looking matchup. We'll see Caroline Marks winner here. Back in 2019, that season she finished #2 in the world, taking on Caitlyn Simmers, who has just shown us flashes of brilliance already in her rookie season this year. And you can see on your screen she's already dropped something of a bomb on the scoreline too. The 7-3-3 in for Katie. Let's get a look at it, Pete.
Yeah, on the backhand as well. Just beautiful hook in this first section and a second. Combination of major maneuvers. That's what's going to be part of today's scoring potential. She did just that, and just a ton of speed as she does it. Vertical, up into the lip, and comes around it one more time. Not a lot of opportunity, but most of the scores seem to be coming off the left, Strider.
Yeah, well, you can kind of get into that vertical range, and right now, you know, it's hard to actually, you know, go out on the face. These face turns look okay, but once you get up into the lip line, that's where you're going to see some points go. You know, they want to see you attack where you're going to be in a critical section, and on the face, it looks great, but you're going to have to be going like uber fast in order to get the judge's attention on a face turn. But if you get up there on that lip and you actually get into that vertical section, that's where you're going to actually see the points go up through the roof.
And waiting around all morning to surf your heat, sort of the prep going in for Caroline Marks as well, sussing out conditions with their coach Luke Egan. All of a sudden your opponent drops a score up in the 7s. That's going to be tough.
It is tough. It is tough for sure.
Live action here. Just driving down the line. Betty Lou, bang, hits it hard off the top and maintains that speed into that maneuver. Clips it for a strong finish. Betty Lou out against Macy Callahan, who's had the better of their exchanges thus far in this one. Just over 15 to go in that.
Yeah, you know, Betty just trying to find some open face, and then she finally does here on the end, where she actually gets a little lip and throws out the tail. Gets the arms up above the head and gets some fun little finner right there, you know, like pushing the water out the back. You can see the timing was perfect to get out in front of it. And that was a great finish to that ride right there for Betty.
It's going to feel a lot better for the young Hawaiian to get back into this heat. 6.66, the requirement to go to first. That time will tick away a little bit.
You mentioned the dropping of a 7-3-3 in the early stages of a heat. That's exactly what Caitlyn wants to do. That momentum's going to be right with her. But in your mind, as someone like Caroline Marks, it's something where he's like, hey, now I just got to match that score. We saw Sammy Pupo do that yesterday, where he was able to overcome an excellent number put against him, and I don't think she's going to be two-faced. We got 40 minutes, right? So you don't want to let that determine you too much.
Ooh, how's the wind-up right there? Cara Lupo went to work. Unfortunately, couldn't ride out of that last turn, but that was some quick surfing.
So the reply from Caroline Marks, the Floridian, on the backhand tools. She's so deadly with those maneuvers. And that quick sort of 3-punch combo on the inside to get that done. We'll see where that goes with the panel. Meanwhile, let's go and hear from the winner of the last heat. She's caused a major upset on this beach. She's ever popular here in Portugal. Yolanda Hopkins, the wild card, is through to the quarters. She's with Louisa.
Yeah, and before I toss my question to her, I want to bring it back a memory from 2019 when she flipped the switch on Stephanie Gilmore with a 9, point wave in El Salvador. So this pressure is not new for you. And this morning you told me you had nothing to lose. Carissa was the one who had a lot to lose. So how are you feeling? How was this heat for you?
I mean, I'm super stoked. I've looked up to Carissa since I started surfing. She's been like the role model of surfing, what I base my surfing in, and it was amazing to share these like really gnarly waves with her and just compete like face to face. And yeah, I'm just super stoked to be able to show my surf in these conditions, which are really hard, and I saw a lot of girls struggling.
Yeah, and I was talking to your coach, and I saw your videos like for the application for the wild card, and I know the worse it gets, the better you get. So I'm wondering, what do you think you found on these waves that Carissa couldn't?
I mean, I was just looking for the closeouts. I just knew if I put one big turn, the judges will appreciate it. And I think Carissa was looking a bit more to the more beautiful waves, which I don't think there were that many out there, and it's like I said, I had nothing to lose, so why not? It's either go big or go home, isn't it?
Exactly. Vamos mandar uma mensagem para a nação portuguesa que está muito, muito orgulhosa de você nesse momento.
Pá, eu estou super feliz de estar aqui em Peniche com a crowd toda portuguesa aqui a apoiar. Foi uma experiência completamente deste mundo. Eu estou super feliz e agradeço as mensagens que têm mandado no Instagram. Eu sinto o apoio de toda a gente e só quero representar Portugal da melhor maneira.
Parabéns, você fez ótimo trabalho. Bola pra frente. So I asked her just to send a message to all the Portuguese nation, and she was like, thank you guys so much for all the support, all the effort. I really feel it. The experience that I just had, it's out of this world. I can't even put in words. So there you go. Yolanda Hopkins, back to you.
Yolanda Hopkins, when she's good, she's good. When she's bad, she's better. And she's through to quarterfinals here, the World Cup. What a story.
What a story. You're right. And she's had, every time she's had these big named surfers in her draw, she's been able to execute. So she's kind of a bit of a giant killer.
Get caught up on the heat number 6 with 11 on the clock to go. Right now, Macy Callahan, the Australian, with the lead. Here's Betty Lou looking for an opportunity from mid-face. Doesn't bring loads of speed into that turn, just kind of clips it and gets a little hung there. She's not really been able to open up thus far.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, whether it's the environment, the water, the temperatures, whatever it is, you're so used to her flair that you see, like, you know, the faces aren't perfectly smooth, but like at a wave like Haleiwa, you see her just busting through all that chop and just throwing down big turns. And here she looks like she's been struggling just a little bit to get out on that and into those turns.
It just means there's a lot of movement on this wave. I mean, with this extra bump, you've got the backwash coming out. So all of that laying a rail in, and every time you're pushing, it's either going to give you an extra squirt or sometimes it'll put you over the hump and you just don't have the drive or speed. So it's kind of a herky-jerky, I guess you could say.
Well, look at that. Woo! Caitlyn Simmers going for it.
Similar situation in the lip too, right? You get up there and all of a sudden it just backwash hits it and it either flings you into the sea or flings you towards the shore. So it's a tough lineup.
Yeah. Just drawing the comparison, though, like to Haleiwa, all those elements are in play there as well, but you just don't have the wetsuit on in the cold water. Maybe that's what it is for Betty Lou.
Could be.
Unable to really unlock big numbers thus far in her heat. Still plenty of time yet to go. We'll check out Brisa Hennessy getting ready to take to the water. Tough heat up against Sophie McCulloch, who'll be relishing the task after, well, a frustrating start to her season, dealing with an injury, and she'll be looking to just unleash here in Portugal. There she is, that ankle trouble, wearing the bootie for a little extra protection. She didn't seem from her surfing to be feeling too much discomfort from that ankle. Let's see how she goes against Brisa Hennessy. A place at the quarters at stake, and on the women's tour, obviously, with fewer numbers on tour, that cut coming, quarters at least, really, in terms of a result.
I mean, 10 surfers make it through the cut. You know, when you have quarterfinals, you know, that's 10 surfers left, or sorry, less than that, 8. So ultimately you want to be in that quarterfinals, and that means that you're above the cut line. So quarters is necessary if you want to keep competing throughout the finish of the year.
Tough look at that, you know, prior heats that we saw with Stephanie Gilmore falling out. You know, she's going to be thinking about that cut line now, and it's just it's a daunting task. But it was the way it was last year for her, and what happened? She came around the corner, won the whole year.
Betty Lou, live action off the bottom with speed, much better. Aggressive snap from her. Ejecting spray into what are now sunny skies here in Portugal. Tags it again for a finish, or just try and crouch to make sure she rises out of that. So having a crack at it, 5.44 the requirement.
I was on my break and I was able to step into the judges booth up there and put some time in. Very quiet as we watch the replay here of this one. Felt like her turns were short. You know, she wasn't able to really keep that rail engaged the entire wave, and so every single turn except for this little last finish move felt a little short for me. So that'll affect the score. You want to have that rail line hooked in.
Well, what you're talking about here is something that Yolanda noted in her last interview, the winner of that heat against Carissa Moore, where, you know, these waves that these athletes seem to be looking for, down the line waves, have an open face, but the scoring opportunity doesn't seem to be as great as maybe a wave that's just kind of standing straight up and having a big heavy section and going straight up into it and doing one big turn is actually going to get you more points than those down the line kind of lateral moves. So I think there's maybe a game plan switch up that people need to understand in conditions like this.
Betty Lou looking for a reaction from the judges. She gets one, not quite to the order required. 4-1 improves her back up. Her requirement, that 5-4-4-7 on the clock for her. And with all the tactics going on, the various approaches to surfing and technique, it can seem like quite complicated if you just put it in the most simple terms. Going up and down, going vertical, better than going side to side.
That is true. It is. And you look at the judges, and this is the thing that they do out there. And it's just to kind of explain, we have replay. They have a head judge. You have 5 judges that are up there in the panel. It's all computer scoring. So they're writing down a score. They put the score in, and then there's an average that comes up for the head judge to look at. And so if someone's like way off, like, hey, we'll see that it's like, I mean, there's a score that was a 7 and then everyone else has like a 3, 5, or a 4. You're like, hey, something didn't get noted here. So what they'll do is, and he doesn't point out the judge specifically, he'll just go, hey, we're going to take a look here at Yellow's wave. Take a look at this. We have a comparison that we've already given a 4. We'll show both waves. And then all of a sudden what you'll see is like all of a sudden the 7 are like, oh, wait, I missed something there. And they'll drop it down to a 4 or 5. Everyone's like, oh, okay, type it in. There's no real, you know, the head judges in the past used to be a little bit more influential with their verbiage, you know, like, hey.
There was suggestions.
Well, I wouldn't say it's suggestions, just explaining the wave as best they can. And they're all fair up there as best they can. But ultimately now, with the technology being used, you can make your own decisions. And you can change a score if you have to, and you feel like you're going to come to the average. So I just love the way it is up there, and it's very quiet. Like, I was kind of tripping on how quiet it was.
Let's get an update on our running order. Renato Hickel, he's with AJ.
We knew that we were going to run through this women's round this morning, but we were on call, on standby for a few other rounds. What is our call?
Yeah, AJ, we had some really nice hits this morning, finishing women round of 16, and we're going to put the event on hold. The next call, 3:15 p.m. local time for a possible 3:32 start, and we're going to put on hold only those 2 remaining hits of the round of 32, hit 15 and 16. Building swell this afternoon, better angle wind, so hopefully we can do those 2 hits, and we start on a clean pattern on a main round of 16 tomorrow morning with another huge swell arriving on the coast of Super Tubers.
What kind of advantage does it give the men in the final 4 to potentially get it done this afternoon?
I think they'll be really happy to surf today if possible, because we'll put them in the same boat as the other surfers in around the 16. You know, if the surf is on a similar size as yesterday morning, 8 to 12 foot plus surf, to surf twice in those conditions, 40 minutes, you could be in a disadvantage. So it will be better if we pull those 2 hits this afternoon, and like I said, have a clean start tomorrow morning.
Perfect. So we'll hope the winds and the waves cooperate this afternoon. But for now, we'll send it back to the booth to wrap up this women's round of 16.
Thanks, AJ. Renato Hickel, he's a busy man. Got a lot going on, a lot to think about. Tides, winds, swell, all sorts happening.
Most challenging event on the championship tour, really, because of those tides and those winds. And also venues, really, because we sit at a place that we can move around a bit. We haven't moved at this event, obviously, but that's something that we can do there. So you add that element into it. Like all these surfers are going, hey, man, we found this bar around the corner. We really want to go surf this left. Come on, let's go over there. You know, like, so you get a lot of voices in your head.
I feel like the athletes, too, you know, playing into the decision. I was in the Red Bull athlete area earlier, and I was listening in on that conversation. So there's a lot of influence, too, from the athletes on what's going down.
Live action. Here's Simmers swooping a roundhouse in the pocket. It's smoothly done. She'll go over a bump and try and take on a lip. And that goes wrong for her. And it just demonstrates that point. Some of these bumps and backwashes going through the waves. And she had to just adjust going into that turn. Unable to get a completion. She's got that good number on the board. Still looking for the backup, though. Here's Betty Lou. She's still hunting. Not long left in her heat either. 3 on the clock. Still looking for that 5-4-4. And at this stage, that feels like quite a weighty number.
It does, doesn't it? You know, I always think that for you know, Betty Lou here, take some similarities. It feels like it's in that kind of north wind, Ehukai, right? It kind of feels like that out there on those rights as we watch the replay here of the nice drivey cutback here, but then gets a little misstep on the finish move here, trying to add to that 7-3-3. And sometimes when you start out really well like that, it makes it pretty tough to find a good solid second score. Kind of what's happening to Caitlyn right now.
I think that pressure builds on you as well. So, you know, there's so many situations where you watch athletes get a really high first score and then have to, you know, try to back it up, and they almost think they have more time than they do, and then they get pressured into like finding it and really come up short.
Just over 2 on the clock in our heat between Macy Callahan, Betty Lou Sakura Johnson. That was Macy. On a muscled up left, a bigger wave. That one just rumbling away from her.
You know, with Macy, I think she truly knows that her backhand is lethal. It's one of the best on tour, and she wants to use that. And she's just sitting on this part of the bank where those lefts have been coming into her. You saw that, like, Betty Lou's just been rolling the dice on rights, and she's definitely feeling more comfortable headed that direction. Very close heat here with 1:40 to go. You know, it's separated by, you know, just what, a point and a half there. So, yeah, Betty Lou with priority, 1.5 minutes. Those are those moments that you got to execute if you want to sit there and make the cut, or if you want to vie for world titles.
Quarterfinal finish here, more or less par for the course in terms of that cut line, which is looming pretty large in the not too distant future. 2 more events to go after this one in Australia. That cut being made in West Oz at Margaret River. And that is ever in our surfers' minds when they look at their position. And finishing 1 throw away, that's all they get. You can't make too many missteps.
No, I was talking to Griffin Colapinto. I said, you ever think about it? You think about the cut? You know, just like, he's like, it creeps in there every once in a while, but no, I try not to. You know, so
that's the magic.
It's just that you know, try to keep that out, the cobwebs.
It's an interesting balance, right? You have to know it's there, because you know, understanding that, hey, this is, you want to pay attention, but you don't want it to happen when you're surfing the heat. I think, you know, it can creep in here and there, and like, okay, maybe you do some little studying and go, okay, what do I need to do in order to make the cut? Like, understand what you need to do. But then once you're in the water, you can't be thinking about that stuff.
Well, doubt would be your greatest enemy.
Yeah, for sure it is. And it comes in, and then those certain tools, how do you know, this funny thing is, remember I was always talking about, like, stare at your nose, right, as a way to get yourself into the moment. You know, use a certain little tool, like, literally try it, Strider, right now, go into your moment, stare at the nose.
I've been in the moment my whole life.
Actually, you stare at your nose all the time, huh, because it's just there.
We're almost done here.
Time ticking away on Betty Lou. She got priority, won't find a wave to be able to use it, and never really unable to go through the gears in that heat. It's well done to Macy Callahan, who picked the eyes out of condition. She'll get the win and go through to quarterfinals. More live action from the MEO Rip Curl Portugal Pro right after the break.
The MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona, is brought to you by MEO, official title partner of the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, by Rip Curl, the ultimate surfing company, and by Corona. This is living.
Round of 16 action live from the MEO Rip Curl Portugal Pro. A flyby of the peninsula of Peniche. Super Tubos, our venue, famous for big barrels. Not really on the menu today. It's more about the maneuvers. Let's see who's got the better between Brisa, Hennessy and Sophie McCulloch. 40 minutes for these two. For the first 20 of those 40 minutes, they won't have priority. They'll have to give way to Marks and Simmers. And so far, so good for Caitlyn. She's that 7 early on. She's still looking for a backup. That's still a really big number out in these conditions.
It is, and you'd love to start a heat off like that. It definitely makes things a little more comfortable, but time is ticking away. Got to back that moment up You know, because Caroline Marks, you think about what she can do. You know, we've seen her win events and put up big numbers. So you never want to, you know, keep the, or let that gas. Wait, let your foot off the gas. Always down.
Pete, you got it out. It's true. She gets straight up into the lip. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's what we want to see. That's what I feel like we've gotten out of the interview of Yolanda Hopkins. It's just attacking the lip line. And that's what you need to do out there. These face turns are not cutting it right now.
All right, 17 minutes to go for Caitlyn Simmons and Caroline Marks in that heat. It's great to have Caroline back, fully fit on tour and fighting fit as well. And she's shown us flashes already this season of why she was so fresh when she came on tour. Her new approach that she had, being a goofy, really mixed it up. There's a whole new contingent of young surfers hot at her heels. One of them's Caitlyn Simmons. At the moment, she's got the nod over her. Meanwhile, live, here's Brisa Hennessy. Came into this event in the yellow jersey last year by virtue of that win at Sunset. Meanwhile, oh, this is Betty Lou bringing it in from the last heats.
Yeah, Betty Lou there finishing second, and that was a big heat for Betty Lou and Macy. Macy sits outside of the cut line, Betty Lou on the inside, and having that heat loss for Betty Lou obviously will create a little stress.
Script,
yeah,
right?
it did. Macy needing a result, so that was a big heat for Macy getting that win. You know, Macy sits at 12th in the rankings, so this is going to help her keep herself intact for that cut line.
Brisa, she looks like she's on attack mode, which is something that you don't get out of her on the beach, you know, when you hang out with her. But when she gets into the water, she's just all business, and I love the way she goes at a wave.
Yeah, you look at the on-land personas, and we try and find parallels between the way people serve it. Sometimes you can see that parallel. Other people, I mean, you talk to Brisa Hennessy, she's so humble on land. We had her in the studio the other day in here breaking down heats, and you would think she's one of the world's best in her sport just by her demeanor. She's so easygoing and kind of dialed back, but in the water, unbelievable.
It's so unbelievable. It really is. And, you know, you got to love that she's got that part of her personality that's a little feisty, and it's only when the jersey's on. Otherwise, she's cool as a cucumber.
Be careful of the quiet ones.
Caroline Marks here.
Oh, this looks like opportunity.
Nice bump from the takeoff, tags it on the backhand, and she'll wind in again. Really nicely done, the two-turn combo. That's why she's deadly. That's why she's been sticking to these right-handers, and that was exactly the wave she was looking for. 5-5-1, that requirement, still just shy of 15 to go. She's back in the heat.
I'm not even gonna have to say I'm going out on a limb. She's gonna get the score here. She's gonna take the lead and add some pressure to Caitlyn here with 15 minutes to go, because those were two nice turns, combination major moves. That was part of this morning, saying, hey, what's gonna be the criteria that the judges are looking at? Those were two solid turns, especially the sections that she goes at. Vertical, straight up there, comes out, little double pump bottom turn, but tags it in a nice vertical section there. The two opportunities she had come in front of her, she nailed it.
Yeah, Strider, it feels like that second turn she did there is the one a lot of people struggled with today. The little crease in the wave, having to make that adjustment. Well, no misstep from Caroline. She nails it.
No, she just knows how to stay in her compact form, right? She just gets low, and when you whip the board up into the corner like that, there's not a lot of room for error in your structure when you're like that. When you're extended, that's where you find yourself falling off. But she stays low and over her board, so her technique allows her to ride out of a lot of maneuvers.
And she was brought up on the East Coast in Florida, right? So ultimately, you think about some of the surfers that have come out of Florida, you know, the Hopkins brothers, you've got Frida Zamba, you know, it's endless, really. Kelly Slater, I was going to go there. But the thing about it is that you, and you grow up surfing in waves that have, you know, limited energy and are short and quick. You build this way of being able to execute in difficult conditions and create speed, and their timing comes with that. In those little tight quarters, you learn how to time everything.
Macy Callahan through the quarterfinals, got out of a tight heat with Betty Lou Sakura Johnson. She's with AJ.
A grindy heat, Macy, but you made it out of it. Punched your ticket to your first quarterfinals in years here on the championship tour. Describe how important this moment is for you.
Yeah, it's almost like I've won the contest, but I've just made the quarters. But yeah, it's been a huge mental battle for myself to try and make it just past this round 3. I've been on tour for a few years now, and this year I really wanted to, you know, make a name for myself and make some heats and show people my surfing. But yeah, I was happy to make it in some really tough conditions.
As you're making a name for yourself and you want people to know you for your surfing, how would you describe your surfing, and what do you want people to know about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just hope that I can push myself against the world's best and be there with them. So, yeah, every heat counts, and I'm super excited to be in the quarters.
With this being in the quarterfinals, are you going to take any lessons from today and carry them forward?
Yeah, today was definitely the biggest with surf. So it was definitely hard, but rest up, and hopefully the next few days are a little nicer.
Congratulations, Macy. We'll see you in the quarters.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Thanks, AJ. We talk about form, surfers getting themselves into form and getting on a roll. Pete, you've got an interesting point about Macy.
Yeah, Macy. So, I mean, you think about what she's been able to do. She's just the queen of ninths. She cannot get into the quarterfinals. But when she did, Roxy Pro France got into the quarterfinals, went all the way to a win. Same thing on the Challenger Series. Qualifying last year, she just couldn't get into the quarters, but every time she did, she won. So ultimately, like when she makes it to finals day, watch out for that girl.
And a great opportunity as well here. We see a lot of the big names falling out of the draw already.
Oh, it's big time. It's such a great opportunity, especially for the surfers that are sitting outside of the cut line to gain some ground. And even thinking about that, when you think about like Carissa Moore's out, Steph's out, you can get yourself a bid into the final five, because you make the cut, but you keep all of your results throughout the season. You do have some throwaways to get into that final five. But I mean, if you have a good start of the year and have good events, you keep that scoring going into the final events of the year, and hopefully you end up being at Trestles for the Rip Curl WSL Finals.
Well, speaking of scoring, as anticipated, Caroline Marks got the number to go to the lead. 6-1-7 in for her. Now she's put a requirement to Caitlyn Simmers. It's a modest one. Just needs a 3-1-7 to go back to first with priority. Since that 7, she scrapped around for a couple of 2s. Needs to get a completion. Does Caitlyn, just surfing with that X factor, that little bit something different, something new.
So you feel momentum shifts happening throughout heats, right? And it feels like right now that momentum is with Caroline Marks. This is a time for Caitlyn to bring it back into her court, right? This execution of priority, she needs to take back the lead. You know, like she won't pull the trigger. This is how I would think, is you don't want to pull the trigger unless you know for sure you're going to get that score needed.
And an interesting position in the heat as well for a surfer like her, who's really like a highlights reel kind of surfer, right? I mean, when she's on, she's one of the best around. She's doing stuff that we haven't really seen before, but in this situation, she doesn't necessarily need to go into the excellent range, right? She maybe just got to be a little bit pragmatic about the requirement. And
Are we talking about dialing back a little bit? Is that where you're going? You know, it's funny you asked me that question. You know, what about, you know, your approach? And man, you shouldn't really change it, right? You just got to go 100%. Huh, Strider? Back me up on that.
Yeah, I feel like there are situations where you have to surf to a score, but I feel like when you do that, the judges notice, and that's something that is going to take away from you on your score. So you really do have to stick with the line of surfing that you're used to, and then just attack. And I feel like that's what she's going to do.
Caroline Marks on the attack, on her left, off the bottom, jams in the pocket, engages the rail, bang into the lip again. Nice rhythm to it.
There it is, the momentum shift stayed with Caroline. She's going to add points now to her total and put more pressure in this last 9 minutes to Caitlyn, and we got to see how that response will be from Caitlyn.
You know, it just reminds me of watching heats after heat where surfers get that great first score, and then they sit and they wait, and then the pressure builds, and then a little bit of doubt comes in. Your opponent catches another wave, the momentum shifts, and then all of a sudden you're on your heels thinking about, oh man, what happened? You know, I mean, we watched like Toledo and Griffin at sunset, and Griffin started out with a 9-point ride and never backed it up, and then a little bit of doubt came in the end of the heat. I mean, right here, Caroline, she's just looking like she's freed up, she's having fun, gouging into the face right there, just, you know, everything's going down the line and coming away with the completion right there, that low center of gravity, that technique playing in and pushing through out of the white water. So, you know, this is where we're going to see a rookie and how she reacts.
It's going to be really interesting, this momentum shift that we've talked about. Well, let's just pick it up live here in a great-looking wave. Caitlyn, wow! Backhand hanger from her, and again, slashing high in the pocket.
There's your answer.
Style, as ever, is on point. The aggression's there, and the speed and the flow.
Shove it. Holy moly. Yeah, that's going to be a big number. Just the first turn, right? I mean, we had a good angle on it, obviously, but that was a vicious hook. And talk about the response. And, you know, she wasn't surfing to a score there. She was just as free as can be.
That was so fun to watch. I love it, you know. And you know, we just said, well, how's the rookie going to react? And then we got our answer in a big way. So that was so fun to watch.
Brisa Hennessy, nice turn from her. Great looking double up section. She'll deal with a wobble, but looking sharp already on her opening maneuvers is Brisa in her heat against Sophie McCulloch. Would have loved the second section there. Wasn't really forthcoming. But
Yeah,
Caitlyn Simmers back on the ropes and then answered a question. We'll wait for the number to come in. Let's get another look at Brisa.
Yeah, so she gets this first maneuver here, but then watch the wedge come across the face and the wave splits in two, so there's no section there. See that low road? She maybe could have stayed low road, but even that didn't have a whole lot of potential on it. But this was the wave here. Look at this first turn, Strider.
This is just insane. I mean, the speed that she carried through that was what really kind of took me back, right? We've seen a lot of surfing done today where you come up and they're into the bowl of the section and they're doing the turn, but the actual speed that she carried through the turn, she never let off the gas. She actually gained speed through the turn.
Accelerated.
And that is something that the judges really, really love. And I really can't wait to see that number.
It's such a noticeable difference, right? I mean, you see it. It's instantly we're like, oh, wow, the wow factor. We always talk about the wow factor. That was definitely it. And sure enough, we look at the scores came in here.
Goes close to the excellent range, 7-8-3. Simmers turns the screw, puts the heat back on Caroline Marks now, looking for a big number, just over 6 on the clock.
You know, you look at what Caroline was able to do. She ended up getting a 6.33, and that was exactly what she needed to do. She kept that momentum there, but Caitlyn Simmers just does not get daunted whatsoever. Puts the best number up of the day in this heat. And look at the total, you know, 15.15 in conditions like that. Ooh, wow.
And she did it up into the lip of the wave, you know, really attacking and going fast. And that's something that we've taken note today. The judges loving it, and I'm just really happy because you know, with Caitlyn, when she's a small, light surfer, when she's on the face, if you watch the board, it's impressive. But like, you know, it kind of takes back away from the surfing when she does those face turns because you can't really get. She doesn't like. There's not a huge spray going on, and the gouge of the power. It's kind of hard to actually put into context. But when she does her technical surfing, where she goes above the lip and into the lip, you really get to see how great of a surfer she is.
And she sits at number 9 in the rankings right now. Stephanie just behind her, Isabella Nichols, who's lost out, Macy Callahan, who's made it, Sally Fitzgibbons, who made it. So this is an important heat for her in regards to that cut line. She needs to stay above. And this heat win right here, if she can hold on for the next 5 minutes, will be so important.
The pendulum swing in this heat, number 7 of the round of 16 now. Pressure very much on Caroline Marks. That 8.83 is a huge requirement.
That's the biggest number of the day, right?
Needed, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, she'd have to, I mean, I would say with Caroline, she understands that there's a certain way you can get a big number. I want to see her just kind of now give us the opportunity to see her go above the lip. You know,
I was just going to say, she's that forehand grab where she comes up above the lip and grabs and does those big front side rotators.
Saw it at the surf ranch. Yeah, so we know she has it in her repertoire.
Let's see how that one plays out. We saw these matchups come on the heat draw, and certain heats do just kind of stand out just for performance factor and interest factor. The Simmers-Marks clash hasn't disappointed so far. This is Brisa on the non-priority heat, looking sharp.
Little vicious snap there, and that wasn't an easy takeoff. You saw the whitewater on her back, and so it's tough to keep your speed up. You have to pop to your feet super quickly, and somehow she was able to get there and then get a nice little vicious snap done. Waiting on the score here. It probably will go into her top 2. She's got an early lead right now, but doesn't have the best wave of the heat, so she needs to, you know, make sure that she keeps adding points here.
Yeah, the wave that Sophie McCulloch cut, the turn that she did was on a big, heavy section. She's a small frame, but she really attacks it. This is Marks' big turn right there. A lot of spray off the top and hammers it again. So she's going to possibly better her scoreline with that.
Taking a look here at another angle. Beautiful snap, little release. And you can see the ski driver there. No effect of Caroline Marks on that wave, but again, needing a huge number of an 8.83. I don't think it's going to quite go that big. She may improve, but it'll just be ever so slightly. I mean, this wave has to be better than a 6.33 in order to lower the score needed.
Judges will give a score to that last ride of Caroline Marks. Needed a huge number, the 883. It was good surfing, it was sharp, there was speed there. Not quite sure if it's going to go up into that excellent range where it needs to, but this is a real enjoyable clash with 2.5 on the clock. Chances are she's going to be still looking for a requirement. If she improves her high score, she'll bring the requirement down, though, and might set up a really interesting final couple of minutes. 7.33 in for Marks. She does nudge down that requirement now to a 7.83, so it brings it down by a point.
That's nice. It's huge. That extra point is a big moment. So judges loving that first snap and then the final finish turn. As you see Sophie up now.
Sophie McCulloch on a big right-hander, had to deal with whitewater, hits the lip, comes down, and just about manages to hang on. It's been one maneuver waves in the non-priority heat thus far. Sophie McCulloch had a 4.67 locked in prior to that. Trying to put points on the board before they get free run of the lineup. 140 in the Simmers-Marks clash. They've been going at it hammer and tongs. Really enjoyable. See these big numbers coming in. Let's get another look at Sophie.
Yeah, and see that section that came down in front of her, so she had to get around it before she finally was able to get to some open face. Just a quick turn there. Gonna add to her two-wave total. You know, she's carrying a half a point. But see, that big foamy section came down. She wasn't able to go up into the vertical section until after that, so it kind of softened up for her slightly. And then the wave just disappears. So just the one maneuver.
Getting close to the final minute here for Caroline Marks, who is still hunting a number. That 7.83 is what she's after. You see that rip-chewed line up, and our peak just standing up just outside of that, trying to get away from Caitlyn, first order of business, then trying to find herself a high 7. She's shown us she's capable of that with a 7.33. Needs a little better, but guess what? Caitlyn Simmers.
She's found her.
She's sticking close to her.
Yeah, and this is the strategy part. Like Caitlyn, it's funny. She you know, heat strategy. Being so young, she hasn't really, you know, had to use it in one-on-one competition. You know, and this is something that she's now kind of learning on the fly here. But I love that she's absolutely playing the right strategy here.
Well, you're not here to lose, and you know, do what it takes to take the heat win, get yourself up above, you know, the cut line, and secure a spot. Is what is the goal here, and that's exactly what she's going to do here. She's going to, you know, not allow Caroline to have the opportunity, and she's going to close this one out.
Caitlyn Simmers has been asked a question. She has answered it emphatically. You're looking at the future of women's surfing right here. Good numbers on the board from both of these. A really enjoyable heat. Simmers through to the quarters. Caroline Marks bows out. Back for more live from Super Tubos right after this.
The Male Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona, is brought to you by Oeste Tourism, official partner of the Male Rip Curl Pro Portugal. By Hertz, official partner of the Male Rip Curl Pro Portugal. And by Millennium Bank, official partner of the Male Rip Curl Pro Portugal.
Welcome back to the Atlantic shores of Portugal. A slightly breezy Monday morning, sunny skies, still plenty of swell out in the water. Heaps of action through the round of 16, and we've seen some major upsets go down. Really enjoyable heats too. That last encounter between Marks and Simmers was one to savor. Meanwhile, let's turn our attentions towards Brisa Hennessy and Sophie McCulloch out in the water. At the moment, it's Brisa with the best of it. But Caitlyn Simmers, after that performance, you talk about getting a result, that's important. But the way you do it as well, getting big numbers, should be full of confidence.
Yeah, hammering down on that gas pedal too. The way that she, you know, pushed through some of those turns and really just showed control with all of that speed. It was something I was really impressed with.
Our aerial view here of the arena at Super 2, Boss. Just get an idea exactly where that sandbar is. Straight in front of the tower, those rips kind of feeding this peak. Staying out of the rips, staying out of trouble, and staying in a position to pick up sets is key to getting scoring opportunity from our panel thus far. Not massive numbers between Brisa and Sophie. Brisa Hennessy with the 5-1-7, the better of it in this. And now, well, it's just these two out for 17 minutes, and Sophie's not had a great start of the year, obviously troubled by that injury. She needs to get going here, Pete.
She sure does. You know, we saw her earlier rounds. It didn't seem to be affecting her because she was driving into the lip on big waves. So I feel like it's, you know, it's something where she, in her mind, it's there, obviously wearing a booty on her foot, but she had mentioned that she went and got surgery for the reason being is that she doesn't want it to get re-injured. It's something where she feels it's strong enough now, got clearance to go out there and stuff. So even though it's still lingering, it's supposedly at close to 100% in regards to knowing that she's not going to re-injure it.
It's interesting how the cold water too, all of a sudden things hurt. We're like, what is that about, you know, being in the colder environments that brings up those injuries, and even though you've had it repaired, there's still some stiffness and pain in there.
Sophie McCulloch having to deal with that injury early on and get her season on track. It is an abbreviated season before the mid-season cut ever in our thoughts. And that's really just ramped up the stakes on the championship tour. 5 events with 1 throwaway. Your best 4 results count. Got to get in the top 10 for the women, and you look at the talent available in the world right now for the women. I mean, you could fill 10 surfers easy. There's not a lot of spots up for grabs.
No, it isn't. You know, competitively now, when you think about the way the system is set up, I mean, even the regional ranks is a big-time challenge to get onto tour. I like the way it's set up. You know, it ultimately adds that extra pressure when you start throwing cuts in, you know, and the sound of a cut, you know, it's one of those things you're like, you don't want cuts. Right, so yeah, it's just I love it because it's just an added pressure. It's an added stuff to talk about as a surf fan. As a surfer, though, you know, that added pressure can affect performances.
McCulloch here in action. Nice snap from her out of a lip into the bottom turn, gets late into the lip and will go down, and that'll be a similar probably order of points to what she's had already on the board. Unable to get that second turn, frustratingly.
Go ahead.
4.18 needed here for Sophie, and she chose a smaller wave, which was kind of surprising to me. But I think she's trying to make some adjustments. It looked like it had the clean face, so she was trying to get 2 turns done. But yeah, she just came down too quick for that final move. It's going to go down a fall like that. It's not going to be the score she needs.
Just snatching at it a little bit on that final section. What she wants to do is find some of those opportunities that surfers in the previous heat were able to get and go up into that good range. Up the high 7s for Caitlyn Simmers, just exploding into the lip here, Strider. We sit up here and we see waves up and down the beach. Easy to pick them up when you mind surfing them. It seems like, yeah, there's 7s out there. Out there in the water, it's a different job.
If you go back to the math, and if you've been doing your homework, you can see that all those bigger numbers have been coming on the lefts. So you're creating, you can do your homework and know what you have to find out there. And there's a certain part of the sandbar which offers up those waves, so you just have to stay kind of true to a game, I guess, and try to find that.
Well, there's a great view of it right there, right on cue. A couple of lefts come through. They don't tempt Brisa Hennessy. Will just stay calm in the lineup with priority. Sophie McCulloch will get her number at Be Modest 297. She'll think on when she gets back into the lineup. She'll get awarded second priority, 13.5 in this one. And we had our official call with Renato hickel. We'll be back later on this afternoon. Still plenty of heats to get through. We've got a couple of real good days still ahead of us in the forecast.
And I think, I mean, again, managing what we run in a certain days. Today, I think we were looking at the forecast going, yeah, we're not even going to run heats today. So we're kind of gaining ground by running this round of 16. You know, and we still have 2 heats left of the round of 32 for the men. And I love that we're going to be coming back at 3 o'clock just to finish up those 2 heats. And it just puts us in a really good position in regards to these last 2 days. You know, you don't really want to run overlapping heats as often as you want. You want to be able to have it just be clean lineup. So anyway, you could set that up.
I really enjoy the overlapping format, though. I mean, I think it's really exciting. You see a lot of waves ridden.
Hennessy having a swing here. Nice looking clean face off the bottom hard. Snaps it with power. And back almost into the lip. And almost 2 mistakes on that last maneuver. Didn't quite get into the lip and then didn't land it either, Pete.
Yeah, and that was just a mistimed bottom turn. She got up there really early and then realizing, oh shoot, there's nothing here. Had to turn down, and then at that moment she turns down. First turn here is good. Clean looking wave, as you had mentioned. You know, carving snap, and you think, oh, closeout move, but she got there way too early. And then just kind of had to ride it out and just right into the trough and goes down. So mistimed there for Brisa Hennessy, unfortunately, because that wave there had some potential definitely to improve on that 3.67.
Thinking about the cut and obviously the leaderboard, getting into it. Let's see where we are with our surfers currently. So surfers bolted out. They're still alive in this event.
Wow, look at that. How many dark names are out of there? Lakey, Betty Lou, Caroline, Gabriella, Tyler, Carissa, Molly wearing that yellow jersey. Pretty much looks like she'll retain it. But there is an opportunity for Brisa Hennessy if she were to win this event. And, you know, she could keep that yellow, or she could actually share the yellow jersey if Molly were to lose in the quarters.
Had a shot with it last year as well, right? Brisa wore it in this event after that big win at Sunset Beach. And if she can get out of this heat, get past Molly Picklum, let's see. Meanwhile, we'll just see a couple of sets stand up. No takers out in the lineup. Someone who showed us an impressive display for all sorts of reasons this morning, just a little while ago, was Caitlyn Simmers. She's with AJ.
Yes, Caitlyn Simmers coming up with a big smile on her face, and rightfully so. You had some hammer turns in that set. What was it that you were able to get the board that much verticality? What were you seeing?
I don't know. It's kind of just seeing the lefts into the rip, and that's kind of like, I don't know. This is kind of the waves I surf every day in Oceanside, so I was like, I don't know. I was just trying to find. I was watching it, looking at all the little corners, and I mean, it's not great, but I mean, it's what I usually surf, and I don't know. It's nice to start with a 7, so that was like really nice, and then I like gave Caroline a wave, and like I put her in rhythm, and I was like pretty bummed. I was like, damn it, and then it got like 8 foot down the beach where I was, and she found like the glassy clean part and got another wave, and I was like, dang it, what did I do? And then yeah, I don't know, and then I was able to find another one.
You're still in your rookie season, but you've competed for so long. In a situation like that, how do you talk yourself back into, hey, I may have made a mistake, given her a rhythm chance, but I can still do this?
I don't know. It's pretty hard for me, but I just try to, I guess you just remind yourself that you can, I don't know, it sounds pretty stupid, but you can do it. And yeah, I've had heats with Caroline where she's like, I've been in the lead the whole time with like 2 7s, and then she doesn't air like in the last 30 seconds. So I'm definitely happy to beat Caroline because I haven't beat her yet, so I was pretty happy.
As you should be, and on to your 2nd straight quarters. What kind of confidence do you have going into that next round?
I don't know. I hope that we get super tubed.
We'll hope for it.
Yeah.
Until then, we'll send it back to you. Congratulations, Katie.
Thank you.
How good is Caitlyn Simmers?
So pure.
Just
so
a
pure.
breath of fresh air, just something totally different, a different animal.
Yep. So cool. It is. I mean, she's actually referring to in Oceanside, where Caroline actually did beat her with an air at her home break. So that was a heartbreak for her. Broken board.
Sophie McCulloch went down super hard. Let's get another look.
Big turn on the face here. She's coming around to this big frothy section, goes straight up, identifying that she needed to do something, and then gets sucked over the falls into the impact zone, breaks the board, absolutely throttled right there. Back on the beach, though, she's ready for more.
Hennessy, nice snap with Venom. Another hit from her off the bottom, driving, nicely done for the finish. Doesn't quite get it, though.
See that low tide starting to affect the lineup. You're seeing these wedges pull up underneath you, and the adjustments hasn't been made by both these surfers really in the timing. Some mistakes at the end of those waves. A mistake that basically cost Sophie her surfboard.
Brisa swinging the arms on the inside. Get back into deeper water in a bit of space. Here's what she did on the right.
Yeah, she had a lot of flow coming into this thing, and that was a beautiful first whip. And then, you know, a kind of a tap to set up that inside finish, but just too late coming up into it. So that wave pushing back a little harder than she was pushing into it.
Yeah, she's left the door open here with that mistake, unfortunately, in that final move. You know, she pulls that move down. She's going to add some points and put, you know, Sophie in a really difficult situation. But at this point, don't see a change in Brisa's score line. So Sophie will take some confidence heading into this next 7 minutes. She'll have priority right now, and she could easily take the lead. Only needs a 4.78.
A little bit of a mistake on the end, obviously, from Brisa Hennessy, but just in terms of the overall exchange, she did get a score that went in her top 2. On the other side of that, Sophie McCulloch's broken a board, had to get on a backup equipment, and it feels like every exchange throughout the start of this heat, Brisa's had the better of it from the beginning.
Yeah, it's true. And she's got to keep that momentum, right? It's important to her to always kind of keep that in your court. Tough to do at times, but ultimately riding waves and, you know, trying to limit your errors.
And the comfort of having, you know, the best scoring wave of the heat also plays into your favor in a situation like this.
So a slightly cagey heat, this one, heat number 8 of a round of 16. The last of this round. We'll have quarter finalists decided in about 6 minutes time when this wraps up. Will it be Brisa Hennessy looking to go further up, get into that top 5 or better, possibly? It's still up there. She could even leave Portugal in the yellow jersey, heading to Bells. We'll keep that conversation going. Of course, Molly Picklum wearing the yellow jersey coming in. She's still going. We've lost Carissa Moore from the draw. Bit of an upset here, and this looks like setting up for a brilliant couple of days finish with the surf on the rise as well. It's been a tricky day today in terms of wind, but something we just had to deal with. That's mainly a function of the tide. If it gets big, we're probably going to have to stop around the low. If it's 8 foot plus, pretty much washed out on the low tide in the coming couple of days.
The coefficient does drop, though. You know, there's not as big of a tide change in these next couple of days. So, you know, we could get really blessed with being able to run through those lower tides.
I was just looking at the matchups in those quarterfinals in the women's side. Molly Picklum's going to have defending champion in Tatiana Weston-Webb. So you would have to say that's going to be a tough matchup. You know, Molly gets through that one. She'll keep her yellow jersey on her back going into Australia. Sally Fitzgibbons, Courtney Conlogue. It's funny how Sally's been grabbing all the veterans, the surfers she's been surfing against for a very long time. And then Yolanda Hopkins and Macy Callahan. That's a new matchup. Caitlyn Simmers, and who's the winner of this heat here.
Winner of this heat here will face Caitlyn in the quarters. If it's going to be this woman, Sophie McCulloch, she needs to find a 4.78 or better with 4.5 on the clock. Good news for her. Priority, that's hers. She's going to need to go away for it. She's going to need to go similar to a high score, just slightly better, and hope that there is no reply from Brisa Hennessy. As we've mentioned already, getting into the quarters is pretty much par in terms of that mid-season cut. You want to go at least quarters or better.
And then when you think about the final 5, it's got to be semis or better. I mean, it's just, I mean, the women's draw and the women's side, it is so challenging because there's just such limited spaces.
Just less room, right? Oh, it's sliding into these positions.
Let's go for an equipment update with AJ.
Another broken board today. This time it's Sophie McCulloch breaking that Pizel 5.7, and no one other than Liam running it out. A new board to her. What was the advice you gave Sophie?
Yeah, I just said to slow it down a little bit. Looked like she was getting a bit frantic out there, and just to pick a clean wave and try and get one good turn.
You know as much as anybody how hard it is to get back in the mindset after an injury, especially one that was very similar to what Sophie had to deal with. What is she going through mentally?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of doubt when you come back at the start, just thinking that you can't surf as good as you used to, and then obviously with the injury itself, scared of doing certain things, but she seems like she's doing fine out there and she's going for it, so I think she's got all that under control.
I would say so. She seemed confident this entire competition, and now she's got a great board runner.
Yeah.
We'll send it back to you.
calm voice to have in your corner lobby. Liam O'Brien, that one right in front of the fins.
It's so cool, this, you know, because that's literally, there's great similarities to that. You know, you make the seed, you know, you're finally getting onto the championship tour, and then you have an injury that takes you out from the very first of the season. This would be so tough mentally. One of the probably the toughest things to deal with, really. And you know, Liam was able to get through it, no worries, and is, you know, right now still in the event, so you got to be stoked for him. And then Sophie, in this situation right here, she has a chance. Two and a half to go. Here's the moment. This is what you train for. Aussie contingent's so supportive of each other as well.
Positioning here going to be crucial. She doesn't want to get dragged out in that rip. Just over 2 minutes and 15 remaining. That's not a big number, 4.78. This sort of score she'd be able to get relatively easily on a medium-sized wave. If one comes through, Brisa Hennessy's just kind of got to hang on, really. Stay close to her here. Hope for multiple waves set. Let's see what the ocean offers up as we'll close out this heat and close out the round of 16. We're going to be sending our 8th quarter-finalists to that round.
My mistake. Liam actually lost to Callum. So thank you for not correcting me. I'll correct myself. That was a close heat.
It was a close one, and Liam O'Brien, in these kind of conditions as well, he showed us some good free surfing coming into this, but still just finding his feet on the championship tour, and he hasn't had loads more opportunities coming. He'll heading back home, down under to Australia, across Bells Beach coming up, and then West Oz. Meanwhile, let's keep our mind on the task at hand out here, under 90.
It's
Sophie
so
McCulloch needs a
hard
wave.
out there to try and find the lineup, right? Trying to find that one wave. It's just, you know, there's so much current and rip, and then you've got, you know, the swells coming in. It's just trying to identify something that's going to give you the opportunity.
McCulloch's going to have a go here. She's got a good-looking wave. It's clean on the face, a little tentative off the bottom. Now she hits it hard. Really nicely done. Big hit from her into the lip, and she'll tag it again. Well, she certainly asked a question of the panel. She needed a wave. She found one. First turn had some good aggression, and it's not a big number she's after.
Well, there's a great comparison. I mean, literally it was of all these kind of one-turn waves. You know, the 517 was Brisa's highest number. So is this wave enough? Beautiful looking wall.
Yeah, she's gotten an amazing first turn in there, and the second one a little tentative. So we'll see, you know, how that comes across and translates. But this first turn, blessed with a beautiful canvas and buckets out the back. She timed it perfectly, and just quick snaps off the top.
You had mentioned earlier about trying to surf to a score, and that was exactly something that you could see.
There was a little bit of that at the end of there, huh?
It just uh-oh, we got a wave on the other side of it.
Ooh, Brisa showing up and blowing up. Couple of mean backhand snaps on that one. So, you know, she's definitely not laying down. This thing's not over for her. Take it away, Pete.
Well, I was going to say the heat's actually over, but the judges have some work to do. So again, this is the time where they can actually really do some comparisons, take the time and focus on it. You know, it feels like this one here, trying to improve on a score, and looks like it's been turned.
Numbers in for Sophie, 5.83, a clutch score at a crucial situation in the heat. She'll be delighted with that, but just have to hold on a sec while we wait for a number for Brisa Hennessy. A 5.34 feels like a pretty big ask for her left-hander.
I would say that it looks like Sophie turned it in the last minute, in my opinion. Here's that first turn. Nice and strong,
that
but
was a mean whip right there.
But you know, okay, so in comparison, a little drift on the fins on the back there.
I'm calling
so
it close.
You're saying it's in, and I'm saying it's
close.
not.
I think it's close for sure.
That's why we see it as a split, you know, probably. So the judges are probably feeling the same way.
Score comes in, it's under. It's a flat 4 for Brisa Hennessy, and it will be elation for Sophie McCulloch as she finds out the news from the beach announcers. McCulloch goes through to the quarterfinals. Brisa Hennessy will be disappointed to bow out. It's been a dramatic and eventful morning here in Portugal. We're going to get a break, but when we come back, don't go away to go through all the talking points. Kaipo, Peter and Jesse, a bunch of cool talking points from this morning. Lots happened here at Super Tubos. We've also got a call to come back later on this afternoon. But what a great moment for Sophie McCulloch. Join us for more from Portugal right after the break.
Welcome to the Corona Update Show here at the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, of course presented by Corona. Taking a look at our site of action here today. Day number 3 at Super Tubos in the city of Peniche. And we got the women's round of 16 completed. So a busy morning, some challenging conditions. We're going to go over all of that stuff. I'm Kaipo along with Jesse Mendez, as well as Peter Mel. Pete, you just came off the last heat of the day. So what's kind of the vibe right now as far as conditions and some of the performances that you saw in this round of 16?
Big moment for Sophie at the very end there. She needed a score with a minute to go, those pressure-filled moments, and she was able to execute it, getting it done with a 5.83 and taking Brisa out, which of course opens up, and we'll see the yellow jersey going singly to Molly Picklum because of Brisa out.
You're giving us all kinds of stuff right now. Let's go to the last heat winner. She was able to come back in the end. We're going to see Sophie McCulloch over in the quarterfinals. And Sophie's right now with AJ.
Sophie coming in with a huge smile on her face, understandably so, because that heat had a lot of ups and downs for you, including a broken board, then needing that final score to make sure you can turn the heat. How did you do it?
I don't really know. I was kind of like, I wanted to hit the panic button, and then my caddy just kind of said, you got heaps of time, just get a clean one. And yeah, towards the end, I didn't actually know how much time was left, so I kind of just saw a clean face and was able to, yeah, make do with it and get the score. And yeah, like, massive credit to Brisa. She did well to fight back in the last 10 seconds too. So yeah, I don't really know how I did it, but I'm pretty happy I did.
Understandable. Your turns in particular just had so much power to them. How is that ankle holding up?
Through my turns, it feels fine. Running up the beach, it's not so fine, but it'll be all right. I'll have some physio and some downtime this afternoon. But yeah, I think when you're in the moment on a wave, the last thing you're thinking about is a sore ankle. So yeah, I'm not gonna let that stop me. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here and happy to keep giving myself the opportunity to surf more heats.
You do have another heat to surf, your very first quarterfinals here on the championship tour. What are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to hopefully some clean conditions. This wave is so amazing, and I think we're yet to see its true colors. So yeah, hopefully we get that on finals day or whatever day it might be. And yeah, I think that's just what I'm looking forward to. I still feel like I've got more to offer, and yeah, I want to keep sort of giving myself the opportunity to show what I can do.
We're looking forward to seeing it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, so Sophie McCulloch into the quarterfinals on her first event on the championship tour. Let's take a look at the bracket, Jesse, for the women's quarterfinals. Look at that quarterfinal number 1. Molly Picklum, by the way, she's going to keep that yellow leaders jersey into stop 4 over at the Rip Curl Pro Bells, but she's coming up against the defending champ in quarterfinal number 1.
Yeah, that's going to be a great match. Definitely Molly coming with a lot of momentum. And what I think is so interesting is that heat number 2, 2 veterans on tour, both of them still yet to collect any good results, so they're going to go down swinging and holding on.
Great point. Sally Fitzgibbons and Courtney Conlog came into this event below that mid-season cut line, so they're making up some grounds right there. It's going to be a challenge in quarterfinal number 2. Quarterfinal number 3, Peter, look at the local wild card. Yolanda Hopkins finds her way into the quarterfinals.
Yes, so true. And then Macy Callahan, as soon as she makes finals day, watch out for her, because usually that means she hits in the final and a win. And then the bottom half, it's just you look at the bottom half of the draw, some youngsters there. Sophie McCulloch in her first championship tour event ever, getting into the quarters. Caitlyn Simmers making sure she's going to get through that cut line by a quarterfinal finish at least. So I got to love that.
Quarterfinal number 4, that's going to be the battle of the rookies. So it's a pretty interesting matchup in that quarterfinal number 4. We're going to see 2 of the fresh faces on the championship tour matched up with a chance of going to the semifinals and maybe even all the way to the finals, Jesse.
Yes, that's a great match. And I think Sophie, first event ever, just came back from this last heat with dying seconds, and she's very clutch in those moments. Won Haleiwa last year, and she needed a win in order to qualify. And then on the other hand, you got Caitlyn Simmers, which is a freak talented.
Well, you know what, you guys? We had a absolute surprise, a shocker, an upset. The local wild card, Yolanda Hopkins, taking out world number 1, Carissa Moore in the round of 16. Pete, let's look and see how the action went down.
Well, and Yolanda, she just didn't hold back. I mean, that's her style and approach. She just is super aggressive. She does not back down to anything. And when you come up against somebody as talented and as good as Carissa Moore, you've got to kind of take that same approach. Nothing to lose for her as a wild card. She's not worried about points here. It's just about moments and experiences.
Yeah, just banging through there. A 5.67 and a 6.1 for Yolanda Hopkins, Jesse. That was enough. Carissa Moore just couldn't come back.
Yeah, she almost put herself in too far of a distance, and by the end of the heat, she was trying to catch up, but then Yolanda was always one step ahead of her. So, yeah, unfortunately there for Carissa. Felt like this board change was very positive for her. Great layback right there, but just too late.
Yeah, and so we're going to see Carissa Moore out of competition. Yo-Yo on to the quarterfinals, and there's the numbers. We talked about that 6.1, 5.67, which she just hit at right at the beginning of the heat, and putting the 5-time world champ on her heels. Let's look at another heat. It would have been heat number 2 in the round of 16. Defending champ Tatiana weston-webb coming up against Portugal's Teresa bonvalot. Pete.
Yeah, this was a big one for both these surfers, really. You know, you think about Teresa and the fact that she's been able to get an opportunity here to get above the cut line. So this would have been big for her if she was able to get through the quarterfinals. She tried very hard. She's got a really solid backhand, but Tati just too strong. You know, she's such a resilient competitor. She was looking at lefts, looking at rights. Didn't matter what it was. She was going to put it there. She found the powerful waves, the little bigger waves, and that was the difference for her. She had that extra strength in those moves, and those points came for it because you know what? She's confident here at Super Tubos.
Just strong surfing by Tatiana weston-webb, looking very confident. The Portuguese surfer did put up a challenge, though, Pete, with some beautiful arcs on the forehand. But in the end, it was Tatiana weston-webb utilizing both the rights as well as the lefts.
And that's the secret.
Put it together.
Yeah, that's the secret here. You know, you got to be able to keep your eyes open for both lefts and rights, because you just don't know where the clean water is going to be. You don't know where the rip's going to end up, especially when it's all bouncy like this. You just got to keep your options open and get a lot of reps, ride a lot of waves.
5.67 to 5.4, 11.2 wave total for Tatiana weston-webb. Secures her a spot into the quarterfinals. And again, that's going to be a great quarterfinal number 1. Tatiana coming up against Molly Picklum when we return to competition. When are we going to return to competition? What's happening? What's going to be in the future for us, Peter?
You asking me?
No, I'm going to ask Surfline, actually, but you can talk over the Surfline forecast.
Yeah, and again, we are probably going to have the best winds of the waiting period, of course, coming up in the next 2 days, right? Today was supposed to be a bit of breeze, and I felt like today we weren't going to be running, but ultimately I was wrong. We were able to get caught up because we didn't actually have those first 2 days of the competition. Now we're kind of caught up so we can actually finish on good winds, because in the forecast, we've got more swell bumping up for tomorrow with better winds. And that's something that we're going to really love for tomorrow. When we look at the men's, we're going to try and at least finish heats 15 and 16 today. But if you look right here for the next 3 days, the offshore breezes, that's what we want. You look at Thursday, shrinking swell, onshore winds. So we want to not have to worry about Thursday. We want to finish Tuesday, Wednesday, and ultimately that looks like, according to Surfline, what we're going to do.
Yeah, well, that's the setup that we're looking at right now. Things are looking pretty good, but we've had a lot of great action already today. Jesse, you ready for the top 5?
Yes, I am.
All right. Let's get into it. Today's top 5 on the update show. We're going to start off with some carnage out in the lineup as we look at our top 5.
The wipeout reel? It's the wipeout reel.
It's different carnage as we look into it.
What equipment carnage?
Well, there was a little bit of that too. Check this out. Ouch.
Ooh.
Yeah, we get to see the wipeout reel. Those are always fun.
And that was the first heat of the morning, so that was very early already.
And yep, well, that came into a broken board. And this was a tough one for Isabella, really. I mean, you think about a shocker kind of a heat. You break a board, and she goes back out, ends up what happening? Breaks a leash. So it felt like, I mean, she had like a 0.3 for pretty much almost 30 minutes of the heat.
And different game right here for Sophie. Bella broke the board, ended up losing the heat. Sophie broke the board, but somehow managed to get the momentum back right in the end and just making it happen.
A lot of credit to Liam O'Brien for settling her down because he noticed that she was frantic. She actually noticed she was frantic. It's like, hey, chill. You got this.
Hey.
You know, and sure enough, it worked out well.
Molly Picklum, she wants an update. Hey, give me an update. Give me an update. I want an update. Oh, no. Here comes a wave. Oh no.
Go, go, go,
go.
go.
Just lost a little bit of balance right there. That was hilarious. Kind of sketchy, though.
A little bit sketchy. Everything went well. Pickles came out of that heat, no problem.
Anybody who's been on a ski and driving a ski, that stuff happens all the time.
Number 4. What about pickles in a barrel, Pete?
Yeah, well, this was the one wave that actually did it all day long, and Molly Picklum was able to find it. Got a good score number, but look how clean it is. It literally was one of the cleanest waves we'd seen all morning long in a very disorganized lineup. So good on her to be able to find that one.
Number 3, number 11, number 12, both behind the cut line. Steph Gilmore battled Sally Fitzgibbons, and it was Sally Fitzgibbons, Jesse, who was able to move on into the quarterfinals.
Yes, and that was such a tough feat for both of them, sitting just outside of the cut line, both knowing each other so well from over the years. And actually, Sally left the door open for her. She felt on both of her finishes, and Steph was only needing a 3.9, if I'm not mistaken, and she ended up not getting it. But yeah, good for Sally now, moving up in the rankings, and very stoked.
And then think about the 20 times these surfers have competed in one-on-one competition against each other, and it was all Steph Gilmore, 14-6. Well, this was a big win and a very important win for Sally.
Yes, and check this out. She started very well, so much speed, but ended up not finishing up that move right there, which probably kept her score very low, and she was looking for a great score. And Steph came back pretty strong by the end of the heat with the highest score of the heat, but it just wasn't enough, and ended up left with not much time on her hands.
Yeah, this was really, a grudge match in this heat, and we're going to say bye to Steph Gilmore. Number 2, Caitlyn Simmers, the rookie. Not looking like a rookie, Pete. 7.83 on this wave.
Yeah, just vicious too. And it was the momentum had shifted into Caroline Mark's corner at this moment, and even Caitlyn mentioned how she was having some doubt in her mind. She doesn't know really how she ended up on this wave, but she did, and she just annihilated it and got the win.
And number 1, a big win for the local wild card, Yolanda Hopkins, Jesse.
Yes, as I was speaking about Yolanda, this is her strength. Like, she has conditions very similar to this, where she lives 2 hours away from south of Lisbon, and she just stick to her guns, and she was very solid in her foot, made critical moves, and got rewarded.
Yeah, and she was mentioning how she says, hey, if the conditions aren't good, I actually relish in it. She loves it. She doesn't let it bring her down. She doesn't have to worry about the perfect conditions, because ultimately she's so comfortable surfing in tough conditions. So it paid off for her in a big way, and she's been you think about some of her throughout her career, had a win over Steph Gilmore, now has a win over Carissa Moore, so she is not scared of those top rated competitors.
Yes, and Riss right there just trying to come back, but it was a little too late, and yeah, that was great surfing for Riss on that wave.
Well, thank you, Jesse. We'll see if we'll get going again. Thank you, Peter. Always a pleasure. And remember, check back in with us 3:15 p.m. Western European time at worldsurfleague.com to see if we'll continue on and finish off that men's round of 32. Meanwhile, enjoy today's highlights.
And a very good morning from Peniche, Portugal.
You heard the horn behind me, which means we are underway.
It's really powerful out there.
Just relentless from Molly, and she'll tag it great surfing from her.
Slashing off the top. Hangs on for the finish.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.